let us begin then. Hello there, welcome back. Now, today, let's get this out of the way first, and then let's begin. Has something happened in between now and before? No, nothing really irrelevant at all. Right, I almost forgot again, just like previously. Let us start with an exercise of the vocal cords, as I am wont to do. So let's begin. Where is the thing? Where is the thing? One of my short stories that I wrote from a time ago, from a time before. I don't even know. Not really. Not much has changed actually since before. That's only been like 4 years. Okay, like 5.5. No, what am I saying? 4.5. There we go. See, June 10th, 2018. Short story 34. I did read this one ahead of time because I had to edit it because it was one giant block of text, which I hate, and I am ashamed that I am guilty of such things as well. Now it's nice, smooth little paragraphs at the very least. But anyway, this is effectively Warhammer 40k fanfic, kind of, or like a reinterpretation of it. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, let's begin. Let's give some dramatic voice to this. They arrived on wings of fire and slaughtered the devils with ice in their veins. We believed us to be saved. We were promptly enslaved. The Freedom Vanguard, they called themselves, here to liberate all lost human offshoots from the shackles of ignorance and bring about enlightenment and prosperity. It was all talk about the glorious cradle of humanity this, and wisdom of the Eternals that. But to us, it made no sense. All we saw was them ravaging our home for resources, expanding beyond the horizon, slaughtering the, truth be told, terrifying devils along the way. But the tyranny they brought would prove to be 1,000 times worse than our seemingly never-ending struggle against the devils. We were told how to work, when to rest, where to eat, what to wear, and why to live. The Federation forever! Boomed the slogan for every minuscule occasion of celebration or remembrance. This went on for nearly 2 decades. The public memory of a time before slowly dying out. Seeing the new generation be brought up without ever knowing what true freedom is, and a life not controlled by outsiders claiming our protection. It was becoming too much for us to bear, so we rebelled. It started small, in a rather middle-class district by some of us old hounds dulled by monotony and lack of rights we once held so dear. The spark was snuffed out before midday, but it was all we needed to ignite a fire. Right around dinner time that same day, half the capital and nearly all surrounding towns and settlements were in a furor, some literally on fire. The Federation forces were brutal, but non-lethal. However, they lacked numbers. The capital was quickly divided into one sector under firm control of the Vanguard units, the remainder growing ever more lively with congregating rebels. I think they knew that if our blood were shed by them, things would only escalate to a point of no return. But it was crossed the day our freedoms were liberated from us. Our demands are simple: restore our rights to what they were and start to leave our home. Smaller deals regarding their long-term investments already made could be negotiated later, once things begin to cool down. Alas, it would not reach that point, as the devils took this opportunity to engulf us from all sides. Ultimately, the embattled Federation forces made a final decision to leave our world, allowing the devils to consume our ramshackled ranks. And the last thing I witnessed was brilliant rays of light illuminating countless parts of my homeworld, growing more intense and cracking the planet into nothing. Indeed, they were exterminatus. If they cannot control, then so be it. Well, almost 40k. But, devils, demons, Inquisition would have purged that planet basically very early on, not even bothered enslaving the population. For the might of the Imperium. Holy Terra and all that jazz. Now, with that out of the way, we can begin properly today. This little visual novel called Your Smile Beyond Twilight. There was some kind of intro cinematic the first time I booted it up. I wasn't paying attention because I was looking at other things, but it seemed like it was like a, like it seems like this is going to be a wholesome, calm little romance, maybe a bit of drama, maybe with humor. They typically have that. But that's about it. And that's about it. So let me put myself away in the corner, make that thing go away, and let's start. Let's begin. Now then, the lovely music on the rails. Broadcast. Next stop, Tangin Station. We ask that all passengers prepare for a timely and orderly arrival. Yunshan. Interesting name. We're almost there, Yunshan. That was only an hour one way. It shouldn't take that long for a round trip, right? Oh, there's a Chinese one. Like, yeah. It's very distinct, the Chinese language, actually, with the very different sounds. It's very different. I can't really repeat it with my with the vocal cords that have been brought up here in Europe, and with only Latvian and English and a bit of Russian going throughout all my life. So those like sounds are a bit. If I tried them, it would sound incredibly fucking offensive if I tried to replicate that. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. Even if it's just from time to time, I'm sure your family would appreciate you visiting. They would, probably. Family troubles, damn it. Picking up on my indifference, the prim and proper black-haired lady silently sits next to me wearing a guilty expression. Noticing her changing attitude, I quickly turn to her to make amends with a forced smile on my face. Hey, don't worry about it. What you said was right. I'm the one in the wrong. I mean, you just totally ignored me. Sorry. It was wrong of me to bring it up. Jingshuan, if anyone had to apologize, it would definitely be me. Oh, you. This girl named Jingshuan is seemingly bound to me by the red string of fate. Same university, same major, same classes. We usually ended up in the same groups for group assignments. After graduation, we were even assigned to the same department at the same company. And then, exactly 6 years after we met, we both turned in our resignations on the same day. We should get ready to go, Jingshuan. Yeah. Seemingly infected by my own forced smile, Jinshuan managed to recover her usual bright demeanor. Looking out the window, I saw that the flowing pastoral landscape had already been replaced by the shadows of looming buildings. I wonder if Jinshuan has actually cheered up or if she's simply putting up a front for my sake. But the cold yet eerily calm view outside freezes me in place to this eternal point in time. I guess I'll ponder this over later. Actually, I forgot to do a thing. There we go, let's do a thing so that we can have everything be settled properly now. Anyway, forgot thing. Oh well, ponder it later. The train stopped. Yes, it does that when it arrives at the station. Stepping onto the platform, I am greeted by a familiar yet unsettling rush of warm air. I guess this is the smell of my hometown. The air is seriously so refreshing. Unlike me, who left the train with a whole slew of confused emotions, the city girl Jingshuan immediately takes to this idyllic rural area and enjoys the unpolluted environment of the countryside. If there's one thing the metropolis can't beat, it's how fresh this air is. However, aside from the fresh air, everything else would make any city person immediately buy an express ticket back to the city. If you really intend on staying here for a while, you seriously need to brace yourself. I know, Yunshan. You already told me this countless times before we set out. I'll be honest, I think the voice acting is a little bit too loud, since we don't really understand it anyway, so it's fine, and the sound effects can go down as well. Alright, there we go, that should be better. Probably. But, yeah. I guess if it's you, there shouldn't be a problem. What does that mean? What do you mean? Forget it, let's go. Now what do you mean? What do you mean? You're best friends. Come on now, say it, spit it out. By the time we arrive at the exit, the train behind us had already pulled out of the station. 6 years ago, when I left for the city on the track running the other way, I told myself that I would be just like that train, never reversing course until I accomplished what I set out to do. Looking back, I realized my so-called resolve was filled with nothing but empty nonsense and pig-headedness. Oh. A familiar figure stands just outside the station. The fact that she is all by herself gives my heart a sobering pang. Looking around as if trying to find someone, her eyes lock in on us as we leave the station. She lifts her head and beams an excited, radiant smile. Hey, That's nice. I still have such a deep, clear impression of her even after 6 years apart. Yunshan, that lady over there. Yes, she's my man. Aww, oh, that's nice. I thought so. You what? Her smile is exactly the same as Yunshan's. Is that so? No doubt about it. Seeing that mother is on the verge of tears, Jingxuan and I head over together to greet her. After a cursory introduction, we leave for my childhood home, walking side by side. This is a nice place. Like fields, nice little like green-yellow fields of wheat or something. Nice blue sky, beaming sun, and low-key buildings there. Anyway, the order from left to right is Jingxuan, my mom, then me. I'm not sure how exactly we ended up this way. This is the first time Jingxuan has met my mother, and yet those two are making small talk like old friends. Like, some people are just naturally very communicative and stuff like that. It's just a thing. In comparison, I'm having quite a lot of trouble keeping up with their tempo. If a passerby were to see us, they would definitely think that it was a tight-knit mother-daughter pair plus a stranger in tow. Hey, Yunshan. Yes, Mom? This girl, is she your girlfriend? Even after 6 years apart, Mother jumps straight into interrogating me with an expectant look on her face. In any case, her question is perfectly natural given the situation. No mother under the sun can ever get enough of this sort of stuff, especially if the prospect is a woman as beautiful and capable as Jingxuan, with whom I seem to be getting along well. As far as I know, any mother would want a wonderful girl like her as her daughter-in-law. It's because she's your girlfriend that you're taking her here, alright? Well, surely you're not going to say you're just friends or something. Auntie. Yes, I'm Yunshan's girlfriend. She's playing stuff. While I fumble for a reply, a certain onlooker jumps right into our not-so-discreet mother-son conversation. While Jingxuan's straight answer prompts Mother to redirect her attention back to the source of her anticipation. Really, Jingxuan? Of course. Right, Yunshan? Well, although it's already hard to outright say something like this, the main reason for my hesitation is my lack of confidence in saying it to Mother in particular. However, Jingxuan is indeed my girlfriend. Well, that's nice. We're starting off there. It's just that our relationship only officially started after we left the company. Because of that, there's a subtle awkwardness lingering between us. That's fine. You're a young couple. It's not that I don't like her or something. I honestly do. Wait, 6 years at the company after graduation. So yeah, okay, we're dealing with like actual like 20-year-olds at the very least. So that's nice. That's good. I hope that's actually gonna become evident and that they don't just continue to act like high schoolers despite being fully functional adults and all that jazz. I hope this is a proper like adult romance as well that we're gonna get. Although, I mean, I'm not getting that kind of vibe. But we'll see. We'll see. Here's hoping. Let's be clear. Over the past 6 years, there has been no girl I liked more than Jingxuan. That much is irrefutable. But ever since we met, I had only poured my heart and soul into fighting on and furthering my career. This left me very little room to give any thought to this beast called a romance. And yet, when I failed to get the results I wanted, and was shamefully ousted from the arena, I received an out-of-the-blue confession from Jingxuan and suddenly became one half of a plainly baffling couple. I've liked you ever since university. Jingxuan has always emphasized it and made sure I felt her sincerity, and yet, after being dismissed from my job and realizing my own incompetence and fragility, didn't you resign? I thought you resigned, not who knows, okay. Different culture, maybe it means something else there, who knows. I couldn't help but wonder why a girl like her would ever be with a loser like me. Come on, don't beat yourself up so much, dude. This town really gives off a nice warm feeling. Yes, it does, literally. But compared to the city, there are many things lacking here, Jingxuan. It's not like the city is perfect either. The pressure of everyday life and the polluted air, for instance. Yeah. Jingxuan is right. Looking around right now, the stillness of this small town, with its roads devoid of traffic or even other pedestrians, really does soothe the mind. But even though the gentle rural scenery hasn't changed much in the past 6 years, it now feels completely foreign to me. I know why, though. What changed was not the sitting around me, but rather myself. Indeed, 6 years will do that. And probably more than that. Although I guess it would be more accurate to say that I was changed. Yunshan, if you're feeling tired of the city life, why don't you move back here? I asked around and found out the teacher at your old school is retiring. If you want to take that position... No, Mom. Yunshan. I came back with Jingxuan to pay my respects for you and Dad, along with sorting out our emotions. I cannot deny that I feel like the city I yearned for since my youth has forsaken me, stabbed me right through the heart. But I also have to come to terms with the insignificance of my existence. Come to terms with the fact that I am as mediocre as I am arrogant. I also have to accept that my only choice is to stand back up where I fall. If a child transferred schools just because of a few punches from a bully, how would they ever deal with the way that this society will beat them down? Those who try to escape reality simply stop maturing. It may well be that I'll never achieve anything meaningful or monumental back in the city, but as long as I can survive, there isn't any problem. Yeah, don't worry, Auntie. I'll always be at Yunshan's side. That's right, my future daughter-in-law will be there. Mom, she hasn't even agreed to sign anything yet. Yunshan, could it be that you're not planning on marrying me? No, that's not what I meant. Was all of this just you playing around? I never knew you were that kind of guy. Boo-hoo. Jingxuan lowers her head and covers her face as she starts sobbing. Very theatrical. No, let me explain. Just kidding. Duh, obviously. Come on, dude. Did he actually fall for that? Come on now. Even if it's Yunshan, if you don't properly propose to me, I'll never agree to marry you. Why, you... Yunshan, you smiled. Nice. It's an ironic smirk, okay? Sure it is. Sure, I believe you. No, I don't. Who cares? A smile is a smile. Also that. Correct. A jolly smile plays on her lips. This girl has always been like this. Responsible, diligent, humble. Even if she ever had every reason to look down on someone, she would never do such a thing. She always made an effort to hit off with those around her. Jingxuan and my past self are really polar opposites. Intriguingly, those two people ended up writing their joint love story together. If this girl is willing to join me on life's passage, I really need to make sure that I thank her properly someday for her companionship through all this time. She's saying that if you make a real effort to propose, she'll marry you. Better get a move on. Mom. Caught up in our idle chatting, we arrived before we knew it. This is the place I left 6 years ago and still fondly think back to. Nice house. Green. Okay. Home. Honey, Yunshan is back. Hey, Dada, I'm back. After changing into slippers and entering the house, Mother leads us to Father's room. My parents are farmers, as were my grandparents. Born in a peasant family and having become peasants, their rooms are frugal as you would expect. There's a vintage double bed, a nightstand, a chair, an electric fan. With only these bare necessities, there is a nearly tangible void in the room yearning to be filled. The one difference from 6 years ago is the framed picture on the nightstand. It's a black and white photograph of a man. Around half a year ago, my father passed away. Okay. Uncle, I'm so sorry. To think that we would meet like this. Well, can't be done. Can't be helped. These things happen. Jingxuan, it's okay. It's out of your control, so don't fret it. What's more, he left this world peacefully. It was as if he was just falling asleep. What an intimate way to come to terms with one's mortality. Mother's silent message was clear from her lukewarm smile. The year I turned 5, my father was diagnosed with chronic heart disease. The doctor said that although medicine could control the symptoms, the only way to cure it was through a surgery that we couldn't afford. And so, father shook his head to turn down the procedure. He told us that even if he were cured this time, there would always be a bad day when his heart disease would strike it back. He wanted us to use the money to make his eventual death easier. It was hard to listen to, but no one in our family could really say anything in opposition. Of course it isn't your fault, Jingxuan. Rather, it's mine. No, don't blame yourself. Don't start with that. That's also not correct. Yunshan? Dad, I'm sorry. I couldn't see you one last time. Right there, in front of Mother and Jingxuan, I fell to my knees in front of Father's picture and bowed my head down to the floorboard. Yunshan, don't... Jingxuan. Auntie? Just let him be, Jingxuan. Yeah, okay, fine, I guess. Everyone has their ways to cope with these kind of things, so fine. No judging, no... nothing of that sort. It's fine. Auntie. This is the only way for Yunshan to show his guilt to his father. Guilt about what? I mean, like it's out of your control. It's a heart disease. I was too prideful. I told myself I couldn't come back without a few achievements under my belt. I'm so sorry, Dad. Whether or not I achieved anything, I should have taken the time to visit my own parents. Sorry, Father. About half a year ago, Mother called me to say that Father's health was in decline and that I should return home to see him. Who knows when he might go suddenly. This has been the status quo in my family for years, an uncomfortable truth hanging over our heads. However, at that time, I had an important ongoing project. If I dropped out to make time off from work, it was possible that I would lose the possibility of promotion for years to come. I chose to bite the bullet and visit him after finishing the project. Perhaps I'll accomplish something I can be proud of and return home with my head held high. But perhaps remained as just an unexplored possibility. After a good performance on that project, I tried to carry the momentum onto a new, bigger project. Just like in some sort of second-rate television drama, my hubris caused my colleagues to turn against me and eventually also resulted in the project falling apart. After so many hard years of crawling forward alone, I was forced to take sole responsibility for the failure and resign from the company. As a son, I also lost my chance to ever see father that one last time. Yun-shan, stand up. After who knows how long, I feel my mother tap on my shoulder. My legs are already stiff from numbness. Yun-shan, get up. When I don't respond, Jingshuan grabs onto my arm and roughly pulls me to my feet. Once I'm up, Jingshuan supports my shaking body. Yun-shan, you and Jingshuan should come with me to sweep the tomb after tomorrow. The tomb? You mean Dad's? Yes. Since you're already here, let's go clean it up a bit. Sure. Alright, you two go upstairs and rest up. I've been cleaning, so it should be tidy. I'll go cook dinner and call you when it's ready. Auntie, let me help you. No, you and Yun-shan should really take a break. Traveling by train can be tiring. It was no big deal. It was a shorter trip than a bus ride in the city. I insist on helping. Jingshuan, you are such a nice young lady. For my son Yun-shan to meet you is our family's blessing. Oh, please, Auntie, don't say that. You're making me blush. Once again, acting exactly like a loving mother-daughter pair, the two leave the room. The depressing atmosphere was cleared out by Jingshuan in the blink of an eye. If I didn't have this girl at my side, who knows what I would have done when I was dismissed from the company. Compared to my thinly veiled weakness, Jingshuan hid her indomitable strength beneath her cheery exterior. Dad, is me finding such a wonderful girl all thanks to your blessings? Superstition stuff, fine, whatever. Everyone has their own things, it's fine. It's just how life works. Not everything can be explained by some kind of cosmic fate or blessings or whatever else. Fine, if you want to believe that stuff, that's fine, that's your choice and stuff like that, sure, go ahead. I don't begrudge it, I kind of disagree, but fine. But try to bring that into actually reality, believing that it's actually real, this superstitious nonsense, these fake things, these imaginary fictitious things, then that's when we have a problem. That's when we have a problem. You can have your religion, you can have your beliefs, you can have your faiths, you can have your teachings, it's all well and good, but don't forget to separate fact from fiction. That's the thing I absolutely disagree with, fundamentally. No. Facts are facts, fiction is fiction. You cannot just assume that something is real just because it's said in some kind of fucking book written thousands of years ago, whatever nonsense. Anyway. Typical escapades of my brain. In the middle of some kind of romantic, bit of family drama bits, and then I suddenly go spouting off this kind of nonsense. That's how it works here. That's what this is. That's what this place is. This is my domain. And that's how it works here. Moving on. If father was still here, Jingshuan would help mom cook dinner while father and I sit at the table to admire the view outside the window and reminisce about old times and gossip about everyday happenings. AKA, laze about like fucking helpless idiots. Basically. Not long ago, I lacked any interest in that kind of plain lifestyle. And yet, how my heart now rings just thinking about it. Maybe becoming a part of society really does result in this kind of abnormal change. Ooh. Auntie, your cooking is delicious. If you open a restaurant, it will be super popular. And that's what I always tell her. But mom says that her cooking is reserved for just family and friends. That's right, if you like it, be sure to dig in. Auntie is, as expected, a great mother. Yep. Well, that's nice. After dinner, mother heads to a nearby store to buy supplies for tomorrow's tomb sweeping after thoroughly rebuking our request to accompany her. I figure the best thing to do is to bring Jingshuan to my room to unwind. Yeah, spend some alone time with your girlfriend. That's like literally what your mom wants you to do. Entering my room, Jingshuan dives headfirst onto my bed and immediately continues her songs of praise for tonight's dinner. I just take a seat on the edge and use my laptop to aimlessly surf the web for who knows what. Recently, a fiber optics cable project finally connected this small town to the rest of the world. Mother doesn't use the internet herself, meaning she signed up on a plan just for me. You could say that this is a bit of a waste. But I understand that this is a result of Mother's good intentions. For an internet addict like me, a fiber optics plan would allow me to feel right at home if I came to visit from time to time. Surely this is what she's thinking. Knowing her true feelings on this, I'm not really sure I have the heart to bring this issue up with her. Speaking of which, Yunshan, while cooking, your mother mentioned something to me about how you and your dad never really got along. That's basically how it was. I bet you're disappointed, right? I mean, look, everyone has their family circumstances. Why would I be? She also said that you two cared for each other more than any other father and son in the world. That's also true. I'm curious, eh? About you and your dad. Well, my father was a farmer his whole life. He knew that he wasn't going to accomplish anything huge, and yet he immersed himself in his work to raise his family. I mean, yeah, it ain't much, but it's honest work, you know? It's a good motto to live by. But I felt that only after making it in the big city can a boy earn the right to call himself a man. That's bullshit. No, it's all defined... I mean, if that's how you want to define your own manhood, then sure, nobody can change that, but, you know, don't let societal pressures decide what counts as being a man is. Like, that just changes all the time. It used to be like fucking cowboys in America, like John Wayne style, like bullshit ones. It's like, all these gruff and like, whatever the fuck it was, that old thing. Nowadays it's something, actually it's changed. I don't know, I'm not paying attention to society, fuck that. I'm doing my own thing and I don't give a fuck. Moving on. He and I had different principles, so a lot of the time we couldn't understand each other. The most obvious divide was that while he ardently loved Tangian, I could barely wait to get out of here. Thing is, our disagreements never really changed how we felt about each other. Even though I didn't come back all this time, I would send money and gifts back home and call him to check up. Dad would also always pester Mom about sending me vegetables from back home. So that's how it was. But I only realized now, no matter how much money I sent home, no matter how many calls I made, it couldn't beat coming back to check in even once. Yunshan. Sensing the self-hatred in my words, Jingshuan rights herself and makes her way behind me. Aw, looks nice. She throws her arms around my neck and whispers in a tone even softer than her gentle embrace. Becoming ensnared by the past is no way to fix anything. Yeah, I know. Anyway, with feelings as deep as the ones you two shared, your father surely understands. But Jingshuan, I couldn't see him that one last time. This is something I can't ever forgive. I mean, yeah, that wasn't good of you. So in the future, you should come home more often to take care of your mom. I'm sure that's the way to make amends. Then what about you? You don't need me there for you. What do you think? It just feels like watching over you became my duty. It's a duty I'm glad you're taking on. Jingshuan presses her face against me. I'm not sure if she's trying to purge me of my guilt through physical force, or if she's expressing her joy. If this were any other time, I would undoubtedly refuse this kind of intimate contact. But right now, in the serenity of this moment, I become all but intoxicated by her mere touch. Jingshuan, how would you feel if, after saving enough money, we moved back here together? Happy beyond words. Ah. For such a long time, I couldn't stand to be here in this small town for even a second longer. Yet now, I feel like spending a lifetime here with her wouldn't be so bad. Well, that's good. It's nice. I assumed that Uncle's ashes were laid to rest atop a mountain or something. It doesn't appear there are any mountains in this area, though. Like, it looks like the flattest place on Earth, honestly. Sounds like something a city person might think. Too bad we don't have any teetering peaks or ancient woods around here. Just a moment. Oh, looks about right. Jingshuan stops her weeding and scans the landscape in all four directions. True to my word, the horizon seen from my father's grave reveals no towering mountains or thick forests. There should have been woodland here at one point, right? Yeah, well, cut it down, burn it down, turn it to soil for massive croplands. Perhaps there should have been a lot when I was young, right, Mom? That's right, back then you could even occasionally see tigers in the plateau. Okay, tigers suddenly, fuck me, alright. Tigers, eh? Right past 7 in the morning, on our second day, Mother takes us to a place about 700 or 800 meters away from home. Because the soil here is of low quality, it was already basically a wasteland. After Father passed away, Mother chose this place as the final resting place for his remains and as the location of his tomb. The people of Tangian never really made a point of taking their loved ones' remains up a mountain or whatever. In any case, there hasn't been any sort of mountain around here for ages. I mean, mountains don't really appear overnight or over centuries or even millennia. That literally takes eons and epochs. And it only happens on like the edges of the fault lines or around them of the tectonic plates. It's not gonna happen in the middle of it. Like, not real. There would have to be some kind of weird fucking geological anomaly, like beneath the mantle, or like some kind of random buildup of like magma or whatever the fuck that was in the middle there, to like just spurt a mountain in the middle of a plate like that. That would be weird and super cataclysmic, because that's literally splitting a tectonic plate in half effectively. That would be really fucking... I don't know, that would be just literally cataclysmic to watch. The Tungian of today has, aside from many small one-story living spaces and some fairly ordinary roads, only farmland to cover the remaining space. Of course, there's also a humble little train station. Mom, do you come here to weed often? You can tell? Yeah, there aren't really any weeds here at all. In less than 10 minutes, we finished removing any greenery or fallen leaves around the tombstone. Seeing the pristine condition of this grave brings to mind a poignant image of Mother coming here every day. Since I don't really have anything to do other than farm work, I might as well spend the extra time with Dad. Auntie, don't think too much about it. Yunshin's father seeing the filial piety in you two is already plenty. Even coming by for a quick glance is sure to make him happy on the other side. That's not what I meant at all, Mom. Come, let's burn some money and clothes for Dad. Okay. You've been lonely since Father passed away, haven't you? Before I could even say this out loud, Mother already dodged my question by moving away from me. The unbelievable awkwardness of that atmosphere gives me chills. Mother pretends that nothing is wrong and continues to take out offerings from her bag. Oh, look, everyone has their ways to deal with loss and death, and it's only been 6 months. The loss of a lifetime partner. It's just gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while. And might not never even happen. But it's important to let a person cope in their own way, especially if it's not, obviously self-destructive or, damaging or otherwise like that. Just let it happen. Let it happen. Let them do their own thing. Everyone's brains work differently. There's no need to put it into words, Yunshan. Jinshan. As if she read my mind, she leans in to offer hushed counsel. The love of her life passed on, and her only son isn't by her side. Who wouldn't be lonely? So make sure to come home when you have time, okay? She needs a pet. Okay. Alright, let's go help. I was under the impression that my experiences in the big city had helped me become mature enough for this kind of thing. But now, I realize that I still have a long way to go. Yeah, maturation is the thing that just happens throughout the entire life. There is no end point to it. It's just a thing that continues to happen, forever and ever. What kind of mature person would just casually consider saying those obvious and hurtful words? Look, sometimes some people do need to hear those obvious and blunt words. And other people don't. It depends on the person. I personally need to hear things bluntly and directly. Otherwise, I don't get it. I'm an idiot. Otherwise. You send me signals, I'm not gonna catch them. I'm not gonna understand them. Be blunt with me. Always be blunt and direct with me. Because I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna get it. I'm that stupid, okay? I am. Very, very thick-headed. Seriously, I'm still just a child. Me too. It is because you're still a child that you keep overestimating yourself. Small scraps of burnt paper fly about, outlining the movement of the hot air. Something that Father used to always say to me suddenly comes to mind. The me from back then always thought that his words were just hot air. The outdated arcane words of a high and mighty elder. You'll understand when you're older. I mean, that is true. Technology might change, societal norms might change slightly, politics change, stuff like that, but people are people. People remain the same forever, and have been the same always. Some things have accelerated, some things have become more acceptable, others have not been replaced and stuff like that, but people are people. The biggest example obviously is of of the common soldier, because if there's one thing that unites all of human history, it's war. You take a soldier from fucking Roman Empire times and take a soldier from modern day the conflicts, and you put them together and they'll get along just fine. They'll understand each other's plight even if they don't understand each other's culture, they don't understand each other's language, but they understand the horrors of war. And they are the same. They will have a beer and they will pass out on night shift and not think about it. They will get along. So you were right all along, old man. Huh? Were you talking to me, Yunshan? No, I was just making conversation with myself. We concluded our tomb sweeping at around 10. I thought I would have a lot to say, and yet when I got here today, I realized that I had already gotten everything off my chest yesterday. Maybe all conversations between father and son are like this. Who knows? Whoa. In just that amount of time, this many people started working in the fields. Actually, they were already at work at 5 in the morning. They were just in another section at the time. The silhouettes of hard-working farmers decorate their fields along the road. When they greet my mother, Jingshuan also jumps in to send her regards despite being a total stranger. What an enviably vibrant personality. You're joking, right? In that case, just how many fields are they each tending to? All we have are these mini fields. Us country folk have never done anything else, so all we can do is keep working no matter how hard it is. Yunshan's father and I weren't in great shape these past few years, so we gave most of our land over to the others. I see. Luckily, our savings and the money Yunshan sent back every month was enough to live comfortably. Hey mom, how about we just sell the remaining land? I should be able to land a new job soon. I agree, auntie. If you haven't been feeling well, don't overwork yourself. You're really quite a fine woman, Jingshuan. Mother gives me a subtle glance as she says this. Yeah, don't fuck this up, that's what she's saying. The look in her eyes sternly reminds me to not make an enemy out of such a wonderful girl. When we arrive home, Mother asks Jingshuan if she wants to join her in making the rounds to meet a few more of the townspeople. Although they also extend me an invitation on the way out, I decline on the basis of my past rude behavior. I don't really have the face to go out and see anyone. That's a mistake, that's wrong. Go out and see them. It's been 6 years. You lost your father. People are understanding. You can make amends. Like, by not showing up, it's not going to change anything. Mother seems to have guessed my inner struggle and doesn't pursue the issue any further. She leaves with Jingshuan. If I had to guess, Mother taking Jingshuan around town is at least in part her way of priming her future daughter-in-law. I'm not sure whether I should be laughing or crying. Neither. Just be like, it's just a thing. After all this, there's no way I can get away with not marrying Jingshuan now, huh? When I get tired of listlessly sitting around in my room, I turn off my laptop and take a stroll around town. Most of the people my age in Tangian went to the big city to make it, just like I did. Any young people who stayed all immersed themselves peacefully in continuing our town's agricultural tradition. On neither side is there anyone I can really call a friend. A list of everyone in this town whom my past self has offended would include pretty much everyone except my parents. No one is coming for my life anytime soon, but I would definitely get the cold shoulder from more than a few people. It's been 6 years, make amends. You've learned, you've matured, you were a child back then. You've grown, showed that you've grown. Even then, I feel much more at ease here than back in the big city. The so-called friends I have there certainly don't help to ease the sense of dread fueling my daily metropolitan life. The city is a battlefield. I am now thoroughly acquainted with the implications behind that adage. In the end, I came right back here. After strolling in the vicinity of home, I found myself standing here again, in front of Father's grave. Even though I'm in my own hometown, there's a feeling that the only places where I really belong are in the house or right here. As I rack my brain for something to say to Father and mull over whether I should say anything at all, a young woman enters my line of sight. That's a high schooler. She's wearing the uniform as well. So, and she's got a little fang. I like little fangs. A high school uniform. The maiden donning a Tangian high school uniform stands expressionlessly in front of Father's grave, holding a bouquet of flowers in her hand. Did she come to mourn her for Father? Seeing this girl with her waist-length hair framing her delicate figure and her inexplicably beautiful profile caused me to rub my eyes in disbelief. But whether I rub them once, twice, thrice, every time I look again, she still stands there wordlessly. After a while, she bows to my father and stoops down to lay the flowers in her hands. I approach her and prepare to break the silence. Excuse me, may I ask who you... As if she were waiting for me to show up, the maiden turns around. She tilts her perfectly proportioned face as she looks straight through me. The sea of questions in my head starts bubbling over. I know fully well how much I am universally despised by the youth and children of Tangin. Yet this girl, who looks about 5 or 6 years younger than me, is apparently not among them. Otherwise, I should be feeling a torrent of the revulsion and disgust coming from her right now. What the fuck did you do to people all the time? Like, how much of an asshole could you be to make everyone just hate you like that? Come on now. Like, come on. I don't get that. I don't get that. It seems a bit extreme. But she had not even mild annoyance written on her face, let alone disgust. The biggest surprise of all is the uninhibited smile that begins to bloom on her somber face. I don't get it. I can't understand any of this. Someone in this town, aside from Mother, is willing to smile through her sadness for my sake? Yunshan? Huh? Beaming a wide grin, the maiden bolts towards me and embraces me around the neck. Okay, well, hugs are nice. Yunshan. Okay. What's going on? Being hugged by such a peerless beauty would be any man's fantasy, but rather than feeling lust or excitement, my brain brims with confusion and suspicion. Yeah, she is actually a child, effectively. The girl hugging me right now certainly isn't acting like just an acquaintance. And yet, why do I have absolutely no recollection of her? I miss you so much, Yinshan. Wait. The face buried in my chest looks up as I begin to speak. The tear-stained, yet all the same alluring visage captivates my entire being. She's crying. She's crying because she's moved? Long time no see, Yinshan. About that, I'm sorry, but you are... Although for a moment I'm caught up in the heartbreaking sight of her crying, my suspicion only continued to mount amidst the mess in my head. After forcing themselves out of my mouth, those doubts are finally materialized into words. What are you saying, Yunshan? The girl who tries to maintain her forced smile as she opens her mouth to introduce herself suddenly stops and gets a blank look on her face, as if she just lost something important. Oh yeah, who am I? Okay. What? Are you dealing with... What? She forgot her own name. Who am I? Okay. Is she messing with us? Or is this sudden amnesiac who only remembers the love of her life or something? What? With a pained look on her face, the maiden takes her hands off of my shoulders and uses them to cradle her head. Yinshan? Just who am I? I don't know. Even if you ask me, I'm sorry, Yunshan. Before she even finishes speaking, she has already broken into a sprint. She escapes from my sight and goes in the direction of the train station. What the fuck was that about? If it were anyone else, they would instantly assume that she was mentally ill or something of the sort. Maybe, but the inexplicable thing was that I had a gut feeling she had some legitimate reason to appear here. Or maybe I do know the answers, in fact. Yunshan, please tell me who I really was. Maybe I know her somehow. My hints? A beautiful high school-aged maiden who was close to me. I mean, it was from 6 years ago. You haven't visited here in 6 years, so she's a high schooler. That means she was like, at most, like 12 back then. So she was a kid. Mysteries all of a sudden now. Thinking through everyone I know in this small town, my mental search comes up negative. Who was that girl?
Wow.
So this is the school that Yunshan attended from primary all the way to secondary. It's a lot prettier than what I expected. I mean, I'm guessing it's the only high school for this entire region. I mean, this is China, so it's still like tens of thousands of people, I'm assuming. So that's fine. Yeah, too bad the size of the student population doesn't really live up to the beauty of the architecture, or maybe not. Oh well, it's future planning. You know, this place might grow and become more populous over time, so might as well have the infrastructure ready to take care of a higher load. What do you mean? The enrollment is pitiful. From primary school to secondary school, each year only has 1 or 2 sections. Aside from the natural environment, Tangin lacks any sort of place you might call entertaining. Which is why, after lunch, I took Jingshuan to my old school as a way of spending an afternoon together. Okay, I have no idea how much students are in a section in China, so that might be... Okay, actually, let's look it up. Average class size China would be 40 to 60 students. Okay. Okay, that's twice what we have here in Europe. So that's still a lot. 1 or 2 sections per year. That's 12 years. Let's average like 50. That's what? 50 times 12, that's 600 students roughly. So that's sizable. That's reasonable. Yeah, that's actually pretty big. That's not a tiny school. Certainly not. To retain its existing enrollment figures, the school, denoted simply Tangian School, was built out on the outskirts of town. Advertising its no fees, all costs covered policy, it managed to attract enough students from neighboring counties to round out its class figures. Even then, situations arise where there might be school years with no sections for high school sophomore years or middle school first year, for instance. Okay, maybe a bit smaller then. Still, that's not tiny. But I guess, different country, different size. The population of this town is depressingly small. I would like actual numbers to know if that's the case or not. With so few people, why did someone even shell out the money to build a train station? Look. When I was little, some bigwig sank a lot of money into building one. Like my mom said, at one point there were documented tiger sightings. So was the plan to convert Tangian into a touristic site? Something like that. But after the mountains were leveled and the station was completed, the project was shelved. Luckily, some higher-ups managed to get trains to run through here, or else the station would have been scrapped too. Why didn't some higher-ups keep pushing for bids? Heck, why didn't someone else jump in to finish the development plan? No clue. I smell some bureaucratic corruption. Ah, yes. Bureaucratic corruption, eh? Although it seems like it was for the better, keeping the town like this and not disrupting everyone's lifestyle isn't a bad ending by any means. I guess. I mean, there are means for growth here established already, so that's fine. I guess it is more peaceful this way. I have no leads on who took up this project and scrapped it halfway, but this current state of limbo is a blessing in disguise for many Tangian residents. That's always a good thing. Anyway, people weary from fighting it out in the big city will always need places like the town of Tangian for escaping to and getting a nice, quiet change of pace. Let's enter the school and check it out, Jingshuan. Huh? Is that okay? There's no security here, because why would there be? Sounds pretty unsafe. I mean, who's gonna commit a crime in this kind of place? Like, you're not gonna get much out of here, to begin with. Why would it be? What month was it again? It's July, of course. Ah, I see. Also that. It's the middle of summer. Let's go. Okay. After only 2 years out of school, Jingshuan has already forgotten all about the concept of vacation. This is fairly normal. While working at our last company, the daily grind has caused even holidays to be relegated to the backs of our minds. Well, that's unacceptable. Yeah, that's not good, no. If a holiday happens and it's a day off, then you fucking get the day off. Fuck whatever project's happening, fuck off. If you can't manage projects timely, that's bad management. Don't fucking push the workers further into a grind. Fuck that. The only way to survive in this kind of society is to grit your teeth and march on. It's not a great society then. You want a holiday? Then make it to the top first. That's fucking bullshit. How are you supposed to make it to the top if you're mentally exhausted all the time? And just become slowly, ever so slightly depressed over time. That's not how it works. It's not how it functions. Primary school classes 1-1, 2-2, 3-1, 4-1, 5-2, 6-1. Middle school classes 1-1, 2-1, 3-1. High school classes 1-1, 2-2, 3-1. And that's all the classrooms Yunshan once studied in. I only told you once and you can remember it this accurately. Girls can remember, on their very first try, everything about the person they love for the rest of their lives. You women are really quite something. Speaking of which, Yunshan, did any girls confess to you during high school? It's possible there was someone who liked me, but no, 0 confessions. Just because me doesn't mean you have to be embarrassed about telling the truth. I'm not. How could it be? Yunshan, you're a pretty handsome guy. Not even 1 or 2 girls managed to muster up the courage to confess to you. I thought I told you before. Starting from middle school, I was despised for being so arrogant. Ah, right, that's right. The evening after I was told to resign, I stumbled over to Jingxuan's apartment in a daze. The person who let me in was the fresh out of shower, pajama wearing, hair towel donning Jingxuan. It's embarrassing to admit, but I cried like a small child with my head buried in Jingxuan's chest and bitter tears wetting my face. Saying nothing, she stroked my head tenderly, as if I were a spoiled child fresh from a tantrum. After I finished crying, I stammered out an incoherent explanation of all my troubles to Jingxuan. At that moment, the arrogant me finally realizes just how pathetically small a person I really was. I didn't do anything that night except wallow in self-pity. I had no idea whether I had any value, whether there was any reason for me to continue. You're alive, that's reason enough. But Jingxuan insisted that I never stop fighting to survive, even if I was on my last leg and on the brink of death. Because if I gave up, she would lose this pillar to her very existence. Well, if it were the Yunshan of today, there would surely be many young girls stumbling after him to confess. Maybe, but my present self and my past self aren't really the same person anyway. Right, because I already have dibs on this Yunshan. Jingxuan smiles while holding onto my arm. Do you really have no problem being with someone as arrogant as me, Jingxuan? That was all in the past, wasn't it? But you knew the someone while they were still arrogant. So, it's because of this that I have such a firm understanding of Yunshan, of your strengths and weaknesses. That's how I decided I wanted to be with you. What kind of objective was that? Think of it as a mission to preserve my happiness. Oh, that's the ultimate mission. Everyone should follow that mission. Be happy. You deserve it. Alright. Are you satisfied now? I surrender. I really can't win against you with words. You know, instead of thinking about whether you can bring me happiness, why not just channel that energy into giving me the happiness I already decided I want? For this lifetime, I already set my sights on you, Yunshan. Have you now? Yep. I want you to join me on life's passage. From the moment a girl utters these words, if you care about her, if you love her, you must tackle her feelings head-on and reciprocate in the way she deserves. Your only choice is to try your best to give her the happiness she wants. Maybe this is what Jingxuan meant all this time. Hey, so, are the washrooms still in service? They should be, but there isn't any janitorial staff here during vacation. It'll probably stink. But I really don't have any other options. Yunshan, go to the front of the school and wait for me. I'll be there when I'm done. Sure. When we get to the washrooms on the first floor, the girl holding my arm reels back in disgust. This is even worse than I had imagined. And yet, Jingxuan, bracing for the worst, clenches her jaw as she hurries on in to do her business. And I, following Jingxuan's instructions, make my way to the school gates at a leisurely pace. Yunshan, hello. You again. Upon reaching the school gates, the mysterious girl from this morning appears to me once again. My apologies, to think that I forgot who I am. The angle of the corners of her lips betrayed the reluctance in her forced smile. Take a sip of water, because it's important to stay hydrated. Our second encounter leads off immediately with the missing answer from this morning. This takes me aback, but also helps to confirm that she's all right up there. Maybe she really did just lose her memory? But when I consider that she only seemed to become aware of her memory loss when I inquired, my apprehension does not leave me. But everything about Yunshan is still crystal clear. So we knew each other? Could it be that Yunshan forgot who I am? Well, I can't get myself to reply. It's a simple yes or no question, but I guess. But the maiden infirms my answer from the awkward silence. What a coincidence. I forgot who I am as the Yunshan. I don't think the two can really be compared. No, they can't. That doesn't make sense. As I avert my eyes from her gaze and try to correct her on why they're totally different, I realize with a start what has been bothering me. Her outfit. A high school uniform. That's definitely the tongue-in-issue uniform she has on. But it's summer break right now, and the school doesn't hold any remedial classes. Why, on this hot day, would she be wearing her full uniform to such a formal standard? Yunshan. I jump at the sound of a voice behind me, breaking my train of thought. By the time my mind settles down and realizes it's just Jingxuan, she's already standing at my flank. Who are you even talking to? Jingxuan rises to the balls of her feet and appears over my shoulder to where the maiden stands. She shakes her head, then looks back to me. Well, as you can see, I'm talking with... When I turn to introduce Jingxuan to the girl in the high school uniform, I see that there is no one standing there. Okay, a figment of his imagination or somewhat. Okay, there better be a good answer for her. What's going on? She was here just a second ago. Yunshan, are you getting heat stroke? Oh my. Let's hurry along back to the rest. Monty should be at home, waiting for us to return and chat with her. Okay. Although the sun has indeed been beating down on us ever since this morning, I don't think that heat stroke can so readily conjure up the illusion of a living, breathing girl. It shouldn't be able to. This inexplicable phenomenon, devoid of all logic and reason, begins to wear down my psyche. The lack of a standard explanation inspires my mind to settle on a supernatural one. Maybe that girl is a ghost. Maybe. If that turns out to be true, then well, I was expecting to chalk this one up to one of the visual novels without any supernatural elements, but maybe not. Maybe not. One who recognizes me and has memories of me, but is nevertheless a spirit. This watermelon is so sweet. Our town's watermelons are all very sweet. Yunshan loved to eat them when he was young. I'm worried I'll get addicted to this stuff. If you like it that much, feel free to bring back a few. It should be hard to find watermelons like this in the city. Okay. That evening, Jingxuan and I sit with Mother at the edge of our yard to cool off. In a place like this, far from the city, summer nights are quite comfortable even without air conditioning. Lucky you. Fucking hell, summers here apparently have begun to be fucking ridiculous. I can't imagine what it's like in other places in the world. Like, fuck me. Summers used to be, 20 degrees Celsius at the peaks. No, regular peaks, sometimes up to 24, 25. And then a nice cool, like 8, 9, 10, maximum of like 12 at night. Now, it can get up to like 30. I'm sure for Americans, somewhere like, 30 is like what, 95 or like 89 or something like that in that range. And it's like, missing a pity week. Well, yeah, I'm used to cold temperature. I'd rather take minus 20 over plus 30. Legit. But like, fuck. I'm not used to that. I didn't grow up with these kind of temperatures. Fuck that. Give me cold. Give me temperate. Give me fucking temperate. Give me temperate. Give me like between, 5 and 18. That's ideal. That's ideal. Watermelon, a hand fan, and a chair. That plus the crack of a window is enough for one to avoid the hassle of hefty electricity bills and shopping for a good air conditioner. Being able to reliably cool off this way is one of the few perks of rural living. Growing restless from the summer night chill, mosquitoes join us as we lounge outside. Huh? Ha! Slapping away them. And there we have the Japanese movement die, right? Dio. Muda doing the thing with his stand. I think, probably. Something like that. One of those things. Seems like it's no problem to Jingxuan, who eats watermelon while expertly picking off mosquitoes with her free hand. You're really quite something, Jingxuan. It's nothing. Jingxuan innocently jokes around with Mother while sitting around among the victims of her mosquito massacre lining the floorboards and yard. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like I'm some kind of monster? I mean, we can all clearly see that you're no normal human. Whoa, rude. All I did was deal with a few mosquitoes. Seeing someone catch mosquitoes between their toes while eating watermelon was pretty new to me. That is some fucking dexterity right there, yeah. And flexibility. This is why we say that men have narrow hearts and short sight. Are you sure that's the right expression for the situation? Should I be using big-chested and scatterbrained instead? Whatever. I guess I'll have to give you this one. Right on. You two really get along. When are you two planning on getting married? Inadvertently getting drawn into Jingxuan's world of fun and games, Mother's sudden question and inquisitive look come as a blindside attack. Mom, weren't we on the same page when I said I wanted to come back and take things easy for a few days? But how could I have known that you would take such a wonderful girl with you? I'm starting to regret bringing her here. What are you talking about? Why would you hide such a good girlfriend from Mom? But Mom, ever since you married, you've been asking me that question over and over again. Well, I get antsy when I think about what a great cat she is. Auntie, you gotta stop praising me like this or I'll start blushing. You're already blushing. Well, took Jingxuan around the neighborhood, everyone had their eyes on her the entire time. They all said that there was no way such a beautiful woman was from around these parts. Were they still happy after finding out whose girlfriend she is? Being able to have a daughter-in-law like Jingxuan would truly be a blessing to our family. Okay, so people hold grudges and maintain prejudices. Okay. Yunshan, you are a very arrogant prick, apparently, for that to remain still in their hearts. Mother's turn on a dime change of topic only draws attention to the truth in my words. We have to keep the future in mind. What if something happens and ends up not working out? What the fuck are you... Dude, that's the wrong thing to say, completely. You two. What did I do to deserve this stink eye? You said something fucking stupid. What if we're not meant for each other? What if I don't love her, basically? What if I don't love my girlfriend, who's so great and stuff like that? That's basically what you just said. Yunshan, you know I will always love you, but if you seriously break up with Jingxuan... Yunshan, are you saying that you also love someone else? Fucking blockhead. It was just a slip of the tongue. No need to take it so seriously. But you now sow the seeds of doubt. Fucking idiot. You better not be keeping a mistress, Yunshan. Mom raised you to... Yeah, there aren't any other women in the picture, are there, Yunshan? No. Do you honestly think that anyone other than Jingxuan could ever fall in love with me? I must say you have a point. Agreed. God damn it. You're not supposed to agree with that, but... Man, did I really have to stab a hole in myself just to calm you two down? Jingxuan, there are oranges in the refrigerator. Let's go squeeze some juice. Sure thing, auntie. Completely ignoring my futile call for justice, I mean you deserved it. You fucking brought it up on yourself, mate. You deserve that one. Mother and Jingxuan get up and go to the kitchen. Being the only one left behind, I sigh and smirk, lifting my head up to admire the lonely moon shining above the yard. Moon's so beautiful tonight. Hello, you mystery person. This feels like somewhere in between a chance meeting and a secret rendezvous. When I'm alone, the maid in the high school uniform makes a remark nonchalantly, as if she had been standing in this yard the entire time. Why are you giving me such a weird look? You're a ghost, right? After I jump straight to the point, the girl stays silent and doesn't look at the least bit startled. She just blinks her eyes, raises the corners of her lips, and puts on a face that says, "Ya got me." During the afternoon, as soon as the other girls came, Yunshan couldn't see me anymore. At that time I thought, I'm basically a ghost, right? So when I turned back, you were still standing right there? Yes, but Yunshan couldn't see me. No matter what I did or said, you couldn't feel my presence. Okay? I'm so sorry. What? It's a ghost. It's not supposed to be real. How can you be sorry about something that that can't be understood by logical reason or anything else? No need. Maybe it's my only under certain conditions that can be seen by you. This girl is awfully calm and collected for someone who recently realized she is a spirit. Maybe these human form spirits always end up taking on several similar level-headed attitudes. So when there's no one around but me, I can see you. Sound about right? You can also say that when no one's talking to you, you can hear my voice. The girl sits down beside me as she talks. At a distance, almost brushing right up to me, sits a spirit girl. Yet I feel neither fear nor the desire to flee. My instincts tell me that she bears no ill intent. After 6 years of having not eaten your hometown's watermelon, how's the taste? Very sweet, much tastier than the ones you buy in the city. Really? Yep. This is pretty much the taste of home. A sporadic whirring sound comes from the juicer in the kitchen. Meanwhile in the yard, the spirit maiden and I have a normal chat, as if we were just two friends. You said you remembered me clearly, right? I remember everything about Yunshan. But I don't remember a thing about myself. When I visualize memories of Yunshan, I can't pick out which person is me. Huh. Okay. Even if you forgot your own appearance, isn't remembering again pretty simple? Why not use a mirror, ghost? Looking into mirrors doesn't show me a reflection. I can touch objects and even hold flowers, but I can't see myself in mirrors, glass and the like. Okay. Doesn't make sense, but sure. To be frank, it feels like all part of someone's elaborate prank. Yunshan, in your eyes, how do I appear? Well, you're a very pretty girl. You have a delicate frame, waist-length hair, and an elegant face. This isn't just Yunshan's fantasy of fabrication, is it? She gives me a wistful smile. It's the truth, I promise. Is that so? You don't believe me? No, I'll believe anything Yunshan says. The maiden's expression silently conveys to me her willingness to wholeheartedly trust me. Oh yeah, can I ask you a question? Of course you can. Do you remember when you first appeared in that form? If it was over 6 years ago, I should have seen you around before. Around when Yunshan came back to town. When I came back to town. In other words, just yesterday. Does that mean you turned to a spirit because of me? Maybe it's because you're back that I could take this form to see you once more. If it's like you say, we should have been quite close. But then, why don't I have an impression of you? I mean, not even I can remember who I am. Maybe it's not to just me and Yunshan, but rather to everyone that this applies. If you find the answer, would I then be able to recall your identity? Maybe, maybe not. Because I don't know if I'll disappear or not, and if so, when. Anyway, remembering me might not be a good thing. Why is that? The memories that people seek to forget are all bad ones. But Yunshan, freshly squeezed orange juice coming right up. The conversation between me and the distressed spirit maiden comes to a close as Jingxuan comes back with a plastic pitcher filled with orange juice. As expected, the girl disappeared from right before my eyes. But she never took her leave. It's just that I can't see or hear her. She should still be sitting right there, almost brushing up against me, yet gazing upon me like I am forever out of her reach. What happened? Nothing. Come on, have some juice. Okay. I extend my hand to take the cup that Jingxuan offers. I remember everything about Yunshan. Girls can remember, on their very first try, everything about the person they love for the rest of their lives. The combination of sweet and sour dances on my taste buds as the words from the Spirit Maiden and Jingxuan echo in my mind. The bits of orange peel mixed in with the juice leave behind an undeniably bitter aftertaste. As I follow this train of thought, I become more and more afraid of coming face to face with the answer that awaits me. Maybe it's as the girl said, about the memories that people choose to leave behind. But no matter how much I resist, I cannot stop thinking about this. Maybe before long, I will end up solving this mystery. When that time comes, what will I end up remembering and knowing? Yunshan? Yeah. Auntie said your family already gave most of your fields away. Is that the case? Of course. You could tell from today's work that we clearly had less land to take care of than everyone else. I didn't notice at all. Are you tired? It's not that. I just want to know how much land Yunshan's family has. After returning to Tangin for just a few days, I already recovered from the pain over my dismissal. So today, I mentioned that I wanted to help Mother out. Jingxuan is definitely anything but a slacker, and moreover, though it is not really my place to say, she probably wanted to spend as much time by my side as possible, so she came along with us. After 2 or 3 hours working, at around noon, we managed to take care of all of my family's remaining fields. It is as I'm packing up the watering tools that Jingxuan approaches me with her question. We should still have around 4 acres? 4 acres. Yeah, 4 acres. How many square meters are there in an acre? Around 667. So 4 acres is well over 2,400 square meters. Yeah. So your family is rich, Yunshan? No. No, that's not how farmland works. That's not really how that works. It's not like we can build properties on it. Didn't you study finance at the same school as me? Yunshan, do you mean that this land was just assigned to your family by the government for agriculture? Yep. Although we don't pay any taxes on the land, a portion of the profits from harvest is given to the government. As well, there are restrictions on the ways we can use the area. If that's how it is, why is Auntie still holding on to these 4 acres? Low profits, super tiring to maintain. I told you, you said you weren't tired. After my father passed away, I told this to Mother multiple times, but she never even considered it. Could it be because this place holds Auntie and Uncle's memories? Yeah, nostalgia is one of the most powerful feelings the human mind produces out of all of them. The reason my mother is holding on to these troublesome fields comes out of Jingxuan's mouth one step before I can say them. Typical of the perceptive Jingxuan. Right, no matter how I say, she tells me this is as far as she'll go. Seeing others in the fields where Dad and I worked together would make me sick to my stomach. Rendered speechless by the decision, I couldn't plead with her any further. Auntie's quite an admirable woman. Yeah, not just a good mother, but also a good wife. You think I can take after Auntie and become a great wife and mother too? If you find another man, it's possible, yeah. Want a beating, Yunshan? Sorry, just kidding. If it's Jingxuan, she will certainly not be any less of a woman than Mother is. I believe this from the bottom of my heart. Okay, we're done with all the watering. Let's take a break. Sure. After wrapping up the day's fieldwork, I sit on the trail running alongside the field. Jingxuan, used to always being neat and tidy, seems reluctant to sit down on the dirt path, but eventually takes a seat beside me. For a second, Jingxuan probably faced quite a mental struggle to overcome her aversion. Faced with the prospect of sitting somewhere so dirty and dusty, anyone who grew up in the city would probably feel a little unsettled. You get used to it. But for me, it is one of the most normal things to do. Now I can sort of understand why the development project was halted halfway and shelved indefinitely. With the rapid urbanization happening elsewhere, they might be trying to keep Tangin's rural charm as a way of helping with the touristic appeal. Makes sense. Urbanization is basically equivalent to the eradication of rural areas like this. But for this country, agriculture is a must-have. After factoring this in with the rising interest among the city dwellers and coming out to the countryside to experience nature, keeping Tangin as is may well be the best option. Speaking of which, Yunshan, yeah, when I first met you in university, I asked you about why you chose to study finance. Oh yeah, that happened, didn't it? At that time you said you would tell me later. Guess what? After 6 years, you still haven't answered the question. I gotta say, Yunshan, you remember the smallest details. I mean, she already said. I already told you, girls can... Yeah, I know. Could be that you want to come back and take over the Tangin development project. Well, the reason for choosing finance... Off the top of my head, choosing finance as my major was for being able to easily find a good job at a big company. That reason wouldn't be misguided, for sure. But upon reflection, I really don't know why I originally chose to take this path. Jingxun's words sound pretty close to what my real reason was. Although on the flip side, I can't really pinpoint what exactly qualifies as a real reason. I'll earn a lot of money, then come back to continue the development project, and after that, let's get married. While mulling over the issue at hand, a blurry image flashes in my mind for a brief moment. And then, someone's voice. When I reroute myself in reality, I realize that the voice was mine. But that fleeting image... Yunshan? What? Do you find it hard to talk about your reason? You've been thinking for a while. No, that's not it. Then why can't you answer the question? Why can't I? Okay, it's a promise now, Yunshan. I forgot it. What? I'm sorry, Jinghan. It's just been so long. I forgot why I chose to study finance back then. Well, what can I do? I guess I'll drop the subject then. I understand immediately. My tone and expression could not mask the truth. I know why I chose my major. But even after figuring this out, Jingxuan lets me off the hook. Because she saw that I was silently declining to answer. Sorry, Jingxuan. No reason or purpose, yet you say sorry. Don't tell me you really have a mistress. I shake my head in frenzied denial. I was gonna say, with Yunshan's old personality, only a nutjob would ever like him. But doesn't that make you a nutjob too? Yep, you got me. I'm the type of nutjob who secretly shaves off people's legs hair in the dead of night. Are you serious? Looks like I need to consider a breakup. Don't you dare. What if I said I would wait until you sleep before making you my next victim? I was wrong, spare me please. She must have already noticed how weird I am. Whenever I unintentionally bring an awkward atmosphere into a room, Jingxuan always uses her laughter and banter to dispel it. This girl is such a sweetheart. Yes, she is. Yunshan, Jingxuan, are you done? Let's go home for lunch if you're ready. Sure, auntie. Okay. Jingxuan and I sit side by side at one end of the road while Mother stands on the other end, hollering at us while flailing her arms. Looks like the few fields worth of work I finally managed to wrest from Mother has come to an end. Auntie, we're all good over here. We'll be right over. Okay. Get up, Yunshan. We're going home. Jingxuan extends her left hand with a smile and pulls me up in one go. After patting down the dust on my pants, the girl who just finished doing the same for her dress comes over and holds onto my arm as usual. For lunch, is there anything you want? Are you going to cook, Jingxuan? Yep, I already told Auntie that I'll take care of lunch today. You both get to experience my culinary craftsmanship. How about egg fried rice then? Hey, don't just casually take me so lightly, Yunshan. Sorry, I trust in your craftsmanship. Your cooking definitely won't lose to my mother's. Thanks for the compliment. On the way home, I chat with Mother and Jingxuan while working through the mysteries that have bothered me since I arrived in Tangin. Most confusing is the whole deal with that spirit girl. If it is really because she wants to see me again that she turned into a spirit, then I can be sure of two things. One, that in the literal sense of the word, she's already dead. Two, when she was alive, we were definitely not just friends. It could be that we were once lovers, or at least infinitesimally close to this level of intimacy. My hunch is that the flickering imagery and sound are all lost memories of my interactions with her. The high school uniform, that promise I made, the reason behind choosing finance as my major. It seems that I took something very important and cast it straight into oblivion. And the answer is but a step away. But why? When I'm close enough to just reach out and touch the finish line, do I? My body is paralyzed by this dread. Remembering me might not be a good thing. I think back to the maiden's words. Yunshan. Uh-oh, what's up? Auntie said she bought some really good chicken today. So I'm planning on making fried chicken. Alright. Seeing Jingshun's half-warming smile seems to help me understand the meaning behind that spirit maiden's words. Looking at everything as a whole, finding out the truth might bring down the entire life I built right down with me. If that spirit girl and I were as close when she was alive as Jingshun and I are now. But shouldn't I still try to remember? Is it because, like... does he blame himself for her death? I bet that's the reason. But that's the only thing that makes sense. He felt so guilty and sorry about not visiting his father before he died. So for him to just bury such a close relationship, that must be it. That must be the reason, right? Blames her death on himself. He blames himself for her death. That's the correct way to phrase that sentence. Blah. Remember what again? Well, I was just saying, remember to make sure lunch is extra delicious today. No problem. Count on me. Retrieving the answer is my responsibility. Yes, it might ruin me. Yes, it might ruin my life. But I still have to tackle this issue head on. Otherwise, how could I wholeheartedly face Jingshuan? If I never come back to Tangyun, I might have avoided all this hassle. But even if it wasn't this time around, I would have to deal with this whenever I inevitably come back. It looks like my only choice is to face this. Face everything, both past and present. Last night, I had a dream. No, it's more fitting to say that it was a forgotten memory, a glimpse of the past. It felt like any normal dream, surreal and hazy. The only difference is that after I woke up, I remembered everything. No matter how many days, months, or even years went by, the contents of that dream stuck with me. Every tiny detail. It must have been because it was something so precious that I couldn't afford to lose it again. Yunshan, class is done, yet you're still studying. Let loose for a while. I have no time to waste on pointless entertainment and conversations. Pointless, eh? Yes, pointless. So you don't have anything urgent to say, please don't disturb me. Okay, yes, he was very much an asshole. However, pointless entertainment and conversations are all part of everyday life, Yunshan. I was self-righteous and conceited in that dream. I was arrogant enough to think that I was surrounded by a bunch of retards. So as a matter of course, most people were put off by that disastrous personality and stayed far away from me. The only one in this class, or even the entire school, who was willing to try and understand me was this nutjob maiden. Although I couldn't make out her face, her voice was a dead giveaway. She was the same person as the spirit maiden. Finishing every exam at the top of her class and among the top 10 in our district really is something to be proud of, don't you think? Still, occasionally taking a break never did anyone harm, eh? The maiden either didn't notice my aloof cockiness or was doing a damn good job hiding it. The warm rays of happiness emanating from her smile could probably have melted an iceberg. Something wrong? You are seriously a nutjob. Whoa, you're making me mad. Why'd you say that? In our class, no. In the entire school, not one person doesn't resent me, and yet you're still willing to have a chat with me. Wait, so you're saying that you're willing to chat with me too? The maiden grinned happily. She got you there. Yunshan, what you're working on isn't what the teacher assigned, right? The maiden tried her best to avoid topics I disliked and steered the conversation towards what I find interesting, all in an effort to get me replying. Although the me of that time hated the time-wasting activities like chatting and games, her persistence in what she must have known was a fruitless effort made me relent and compromise. So it wasn't a fruitless effort at all then. If it functioned, then it was... Yunshan? Yeah, you're right. I'm working through a problem set I bought from a bookstore in a nearby town, since I already finished our classwork. Thing is, if you want to fully grasp the course material, the assigned work is nowhere close to enough. It's only our second year of high school and you're already working this hard on your studies. If I wasn't, it would be hard to maintain my class and district rankings. Being Yunshan really isn't easy. Hey, look who she's talking to. Seriously, the arrogant prick who only wants to talk to people on his level? Although maybe it's because it's her. Maybe. Is there a single guy in the school who isn't interested in her? Looks like the arrogant prick is still a man. Tell me about it. This stilted, hot and cold conversation quickly drew the attention and ire of our classmates. For someone with as troubling a level of notoriety as I, the maiden before me served as an excellent foil. Does Yunshan have any hobbies outside of studying? Does eating watermelon in my yard count as a hobby? Is your family's yard really big then? I mean, the houses in this town are all more or less the same. I'm not from Tangyun though. So that's how it is, eh? If there's ever a chance, can I go over to Yunshan's house to play? Oh, well, sun fastball. Yeah, I guess. Yay! Outgoing and a bit clingy, but not in an annoying way. This to her long hair, striking face, and her delicate frame, and would have been against the laws of the universe if she wasn't popular. From then on, every time class finished, the maiden would hurry over to my seat to talk with me. At first, I disliked how frequently she showed up, but after I got used to it, there came a point where I would almost not feel quite myself if she didn't come. Even without even knowing it, she became irreplaceable to me. One day, I asked her a question out of impulse. Is it okay for me to ask a question? Sure, since Yunshan finally asked me something of his own accord. What's up? Why do you enjoy talking with me? Even though I didn't enjoy talking with most people except for schoolwork, I still was painfully aware of my own intolerable arrogance. This type of person shouldn't have friends, especially one like this bubbly-go-lucky girl. Well, of course it's because I like Yunshan. Without any lead-up, without a prelude, the maiden delivered her answer in a matter-of-fact way. Is wanting to talk to the person I like really such a strange thing? Like me? Yep. But I'm a bookworm with a rotten personality and a lousy attitude. To be frank, I looked down on even you in the past. Why would you like me? Well, if I have to say, I fell in love with the intense look on Yunshan's face while he studies. The maiden was not taken aback in the slightest by my blunt reply. Rather, the corners of her lips turned up to accentuate her blooming smile. You're a nutjob after all. Yeah, maybe I am. You're not going to argue with me this time? I found if not going against Yunshan will make him accept the meaning behind my words, then I'll gladly concede this point as the truth. Oh, you. Her pure, untainted smile left a deep impression in my heart. Although there was a dark undertone to the look on her face, I knew that I wouldn't ever forget it. But you did. Because tragedy incoming soon. To think that this bizarre dream would end with that last smile. Waking up from the dream, I open my eyes and see the familiar markings of my bedroom ceiling. Beside me is my current lover. Her even breathing lulls me back to sleep like a gentle summer night lullaby. If I have to say, I fell in love with the intense look on Yunshan's face while he studies. But when my mind replays the maid's words from my dream, I can no longer sleep. Is it morning yet? The dream ended suddenly, so maybe it's not. 6:25 am. That's morning. That's early enough. I use one eye to check the clock on my nightstand. Normally I am the same as Yunshan, only waking up at about 7 or 8. If the dream ended there, not randomly, but rather as a foreboding message, I am worried that the answer I'm looking for is tragedy. That everything after that point is all things I didn't want to remember. Exactly. But we're gonna. Now, she's a ghost. Which means she is already not with us. So I can already pretty much guess what happens next. No matter the actual events, the rest of that dream is guaranteed to be a tragic tale. But there's something I just don't understand. The whole time, I never recall that maiden's name. Everyone in that dream, I, her, and our classmates, all seem to be conveniently leaving out her name. It's almost like remembering that girl's name will be the end to everything. If I ever reach out and touch the key to everything, this story will come to a close. So that's how it's gonna end. Because of this, the maiden got rid of her own name. I already have dibs on this Yunshan. Suddenly, I remember what Jingxuan said before when we were at my high school. That sentence was normal at the time, but now my attention is drawn to a certain word. This. Indeed, right now I am Jingxuan's boyfriend. But it's only this Jingxuan. In my life thus far, it seems that Jingxuan is not the only person who had dibs on me. It turns out I basically lied to Jingxuan. I lightly stroked Jingxuan's hair while muttering to myself. When I get the chance, I should really explain everything to Jingxuan. Whether for Jingxuan's sake or that spirit maiden's sake, heck, even for my own sake, this is something that I have to do. Yunshan. Hey, Yunshan. Help, help, Yunshan's deaf. Who are you calling deaf? Why are you ignoring me then? Shouldn't one glance give you your answer? I'm studying. In the small break between two classes, the maiden stepped away from her usual group and made her way to a certain young man while snickering like an excited hamster. The young man noticed Yunshan gave off a vibe that clearly said, "Stay away." And yet the maiden approached him as if oblivious to his aura and asked the classmate sitting in front of him to trade seats. After the classmate left and the maid sat down, she started pestering the student sitting behind her, working on practice problems. The young man already noticed her when the other classmate stood up and she sat down, but he elected to ignore her and instead focus on his studies. But in the end, the maid's unreasonable bantering made the young man begrudgingly look away from his textbook to address her. Some more water. Essential. You can study while talking to me, can't you? Maybe, maybe not. I can't multitask for shit. That will only hamper my work efficiency. If you don't have anything important to say, let me study first. When I'm free, I'll chat with you all you want. It's a promise then, eh? Then, when will you be free? There's the catch though. Summer break? It needs to be mentioned that it was May at this time. There was still more than a month before summer break. So before then, just let me... I clearly said I like you, Yunshan, but your attitude has still been cold all the way through. Having been completely blown up by the young man, the dissatisfied maiden grumbled angrily in protest. Her complaints reached the young man, whose concentration finally started wavering as he started choking on the tense atmosphere around him. Honestly? Some while ago, this beautiful, cheerful and popular girl gave her love for his studious face as the reason for her always wanting to chat with him. Since then, the honor student who always puts school ahead of everything started to feel himself change, especially with his attitude, although he only exhibited this growth around the maiden. But one thing that hasn't changed is that this young man was still as hard to converse with as ever. Are you mad? She pouted her lip and puffed her cheeks to display her anger, but she didn't have any intention of leaving. The young man realized she was waiting for a certain answer from him. He sighed and shook his head. As he pushed his textbook off to one side, he gave her the answer she wanted. I'll say this right now, I'm only talking with you for a bit. Really? When the young man agreed to chat with the maiden, her puffed cheeks deflated instantly like a popped balloon, and all traces of her previous dissatisfaction disappeared from her visage. Visage. Fucking French words again. Then turning her head to the young man with the look of a loving, loyal puppy, the maiden gleefully awaited the conversation that was to come. You pretended to be mad just now. Of course she did. She likes you. Of course she just pretended to give her your words there. The young man thought this to himself as he looked at the maiden. I have to ask this in advance. Isn't talking with me quite depressing? Since I don't really have any interests outside of studying, I don't really have anything interesting to bring up or any good conversation skills. It doesn't matter. I'm happy as long as I can talk to Yunshan. The maiden smiled sweetly. If that's the case, then so be it. They then had their much anticipated conversation. Although it was a conversation where the maiden did most of the talking while the young man would occasionally jump in to respond, she was nevertheless over the moon. Her usual group, which apparently revolved around her, all dispersed and went back to their seats and eavesdropped on the pair's conversation with pitiful glares. Soon the break that some would say is generously long and that a certain duo found exceptionally short ended with the sound of the bell. Well, the break is over this soon. Gotta give it to you for managing to cover so many topics in that short time. There's just so much to say when I'm with the person I like. In a way, it's quite the impressive talent. So when the next class ends, let's pick up where we left off, Yunshan. The maiden spoke as she stood up and waved her hands. She then hurried along back to her own seat. You still want to talk more with me? In just those few minutes, we already discussed, or should I say, I heard about so many different topics. Although he said this, deep down he looked forward to their next encounter. Even as he mouthed off several half-hearted complaints, his true feelings were betrayed by the slight smile which crept up to his face, though it vanished before anyone could catch it. Yunshan, how do I solve this problem? Is that a serious question? Why do you ask? This exact solution was repeated by the teacher at least 5 times. For real? I seem to have totally missed that. She's not paying attention to the teacher. Oh, you. I seriously can't screw this question up. What should I do? I guess this is indeed a question you can't afford to get wrong. Grand Teacher Yunshan, save me. This is the one question I can't mess up. I know, I'll help you. Let go of my arm. Thanks. So this question, it was supposed to be math class at the time, but the teacher took the day off and there was no replacement available. In the end, the students were told to use this time as a study hall. But since their next math class was already scheduled to be a test, this self-study session was basically a break for the more competent students and a frantic review session for everyone else. If this was before he met the maiden, the young man probably would have looked ahead at new material while the other students focused on the next test. But since he did in fact know her, he shoved aside his temptation to learn ahead and instead helped the maiden review the material he already knew inside and out. To be precise, he was helping the maid get at least a passing score on their next test. There was no doubt that she was at the center of attention for their class, but she was also cursed with never being able to pass anything without the help of sheer dumb luck. Simply put, she was an idiot. So it's basically like that. Did you follow? Yep. No, she didn't. The maiden emphatically nodded her head. So you understand. Looks like your head's screwed on perfectly fine, just that you're usually slacking. Teacher, I didn't get a thing. Of course she didn't. Hey, please take the trouble of teaching me again. Okay, this time I'll go through it slower and walk through every single step with you. That's not gonna matter. As expected, Yunshan, I love you the most. A confession in this sort of situation feels really cheap. I guess, sorry. Whatever, well, shall we get started? Okay. Because of the upcoming test, the tension in the room was palpable. Even with no teacher in the classroom, you could hear a pin drop if not for the sound of the young man's hushed explanation and the maiden's muted but nevertheless audible replies. Normally, most of the students would get angry if 2 students were this rowdy while everyone else tried to keep a quiet atmosphere. But in this case, not a single student expressed any kind of objection to the situation at hand. On one hand, the one speaking somewhat loudly, albeit not to the point of being excessively disruptive, was the sweetheart of the entire class. On the other hand, everything the other person said in his hushed voice was of interest to the others in class, who took it as a learning opportunity. Despite the young man's nasty character, he was still the best student the school has had in over a decade. Therefore, with the test coming up, not one person wanted to miss what was coming out of his mouth. Excuse me? Yeah? When the maid's learning process, or rather her last-minute catch-up, started coming along smoothly, a girl sitting close to the pair turned to them and addressed them with her face and ears noticeably red. What's up, Lingly? I have a question about one of the practice problems. For me? No. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, since I'm currently getting taught myself. Hahaha. The maiden laughed cheerfully. What's your question? Picking up that Lingly wanted to ask him about the math problem, the young man turned to offer his help. You're willing to help me? Aren't you going to ask? Yes, thank you. So, here. What? Something wrong? No, it's nothing. Hurry up and teach Lingly already. So, this problem. Yeah. This problem isn't actually that bad. So basically, while the young man helped the female student through this solution, the maid put her review session on hold and observed them with a bright smile on her face. She was smiling for a simple reason. She had noticed something about the young man that not even he was aware of yet. If it were his old self, he would have completely brushed Lingly off. I see, so that's how it's done. Thank you. No need, it was just one simple question. I was wondering, if you have any more questions, can I come ask you again? Sure, why not? Thanks. After getting the young man's reply, Lingly went back to her seat satisfied. For some reason, her face and ears were even more red than they had been before. Yunshan, if you willingly corrected your personality, don't you think there would be more than a few people crushing on you? Where'd that come from all of a sudden? Did you fry your brain while learning too much from at once? I bet you don't understand at all. Hey, what's up with you? Nothing. It's fine if you don't understand. Okay, proceed, Grand Teacher Yunshan. You absolute nutjob. The maiden puffed her chest proudly. That wasn't a compliment. Gee, stop wasting time. Let's keep going. Yeah, if you waste any more time, you seriously might fail this test. Don't jinx me right before the test. That hurt. Why'd you hit me? Perhaps it was because it was so closely related to school that the young man didn't realize what had happened just then. His world had just expanded ever so slightly. This change happened all because the maiden began talking to him and getting to know him. By the time he noticed, his world had enlarged by a factor of at least 10. By that point, he had become soberly aware of his own dull, selfish, and arrogant nature. This is awesome! I actually scored a 70. Since the start of high school, I've never even once scored such a high mark. Thank you, Grand Teacher Yunshan. Without you, I definitely would have failed like before. It was no big deal. However, is 70 really a mark that merits celebration? Hey, if you were getting like 30, 40, or something like that before, then yes, it does. It's all relative. Education is relative to each person because everyone's brain is unique in how it learns and how it understands and how it like interacts with information and everything else. Like large classrooms like this really don't benefit a lot of people in a way. So some people struggle because their brains are just wired to learn things differently than the standard school procedures, want to teach and are capable of teaching. So it's like, it's just like, most people aren't stupid. They just have different way of learning things. Like seriously, there are plenty of people in the world who don't have an inner monologue. They just have a different thing. Like I can't possibly comprehend how that works because I have just an inner monologue for all my thoughts. And like maybe the occasional like vague imagery, but even then it's like accompanied by an explanation. But some people don't have that. They just have these, images or sounds or something else in their brain as their internal visualization of information, something like that. How does that work? I have no fucking clue. I can't imagine it, literally. That's not how my brain works at all. But plenty of people do that. So, who knows? But the test was out of 120. Okay. Still, it's pretty good. At times like these, we should just pretend I was out of 100. This is basically like covering your own ears to steal a bell. Not at all. At worst, it's just a bit of self-deception. And that's an appropriate term, but somehow it sounds even more pathetic. Wait, Yunshan, what was your mark again? I was too concerned about my own, so I didn't hear when the teacher announced yours. It was 120. The young man handed his test paper to the maiden. Die! Oh, are you kidding me? You actually managed to score 114 out of 120. Just die already. The test paper in the mains had a circled 114 written with red pen in the top right corner. Didn't get all 120. Keep in mind that my last score was 118. Since I helped you this time, I didn't get to follow through with the study plan I prepared. Shut up. All I'm saying is stop attacking me. Although his words beckoned for the maiden to stop, the young man was beyond happy. This was the first time since elementary school that anyone except his parents cared about his grades. What's more, her reaction to his mark was so entertaining to see. I'm so glad I got to know her. Yee, that's nice. That's fun. Hey. So are you just going to idly let your summer break pass by like this? It's not idle, she's hanging out with you. What's wrong with that? Idly passing time during vacation is every student's right. Can you at least not idly pass time while sitting on my lap? There are other people around. Oh man, she's bold. I like her. I can't hear you. Seriously. In the blink of an eye, it was finally summer break. Along with the date on the calendar, the relationship between the young man and the maiden got also changed. It wasn't clear when it started, but this unlikely pair started dating after fairly ordinary circumstances. There wasn't any earth-shattering confession, any daunting tribulations, or any kind of critical moment. Their young love all started with a simple "I like you" and continued to blossom even as the seasons changed. At some point, the relationship between the girl that everyone adored and the boy who everyone despised became an accepted matter of fact by most. Didn't we agree to study here together? If I didn't say that, would Yunshan have agreed to come out so willingly? I mean, you're not wrong, right? In a coffee shop right outside Tangyin, the young man and maiden sat in the corner beside the window. To be exact, the young man sipped his coffee as he read the mystery novels he only read during vacations, while the girl who lied about wanting to study sat on his leg while playing on her phone with an ambiguous expression. The maiden had been in such a state ever since I got hot outside. Was there a movie you wanted to see? I mean, since we're already out on a date, how about we change the location to something more date-like? like a movie theater, for example. Really? Yunshan wants to go watch a movie with me. In response to the young man's suggestion, the maiden slid off the young man's lap and gazed upon her boyfriend with hopeful eyes. If it were anyone else, they would definitely need to use studying as an excuse for luring me out. But you're different since you're my, girlfriend. Wow, who knew that Yunshan could say something so embarrassing? The maiden covered her mouth as a happy chuckle escaped from her lips. Yunshan, do you really like me that much now? Come on, say it to big sister. Looks like we should just break up. I'm joking, I'm joking. Me too. Yunshan's face is way too serious when he's joking. I couldn't tell at all just from looking. Is that how it is? You don't really have a knack for jokes, Yunshan. You should have found out a while ago, no? Yeah, even so, I still fell in love with this humorless iceberg of a man. It shouldn't matter if I can't tell jokes, right? Oh? Isn't it okay as long as you tell them? When I'm unhappy or when we need to clear our minds, hearing your jokes and stories will make everything better. Oh, young man, are you saying... Don't hug my arm, Olafson. There are a lot of people here. Are you saying you want to join me on life's passage? Wouldn't you want that? The maiden only held on to him even tighter after hearing his reply. Then she looked up at the young man with a sweet smile on her face. As long as you want me there, I will always be at your side. Really? No matter how much the world around us changes, no matter what other people think, even when I become an old toothless woman, I'll stay at your side, old man. You're not even 20 yet and you already want to become an old woman. I think that the most beautiful promise in one's life is willingly growing old with someone else. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that is very romantic and sweet and lovely. Accepting the other's merits and flaws, always moving forward together. Even when they're so old that they need canes to walk, they can look back at their youthful glory days. Isn't that so romantic? When you say it like that, it really is. It is indeed, yes. I love you, Yunshan. Why are you saying that all of a sudden? Because she loves you. Simple as that. I want you to know that I'm not with you out of pity for how lonely you are. I hope you understand that. I know you're not the type of girl to use pity as a tool like that. I love you, Yunshan. Likewise, no, you have to say the words. In that coffee shop, the soft background music gently accompanied the couple's conversation. In their many words, the young man and the maiden once again reaffirmed their feelings for one another. There are quite a few movies playing in theaters. What does Yunshan want to watch? I'm indifferent. Was there anything you wanted to watch? You know, I really hate the word indifferent. I mean, it can't be helped. I'm not that into movies anyway. Hey. Ow. If you're not into movies, why did you suggest going to the theater, you moron? Watching a movie together is basically a staple activity for couples, is it not? It's not really relevant though. You do something that you both want to do together or something like that. Even so, if you're not interested, you're not going to enjoy yourself. That's not the case. As long as I'm with you, I could enjoy any movie. What's up? Love you most, Yunshan. That was a romantic thing he said though, yes. The maiden could not control her happiness as she unabashedly hugged the young man's arm in that filled coffee shop. The commotion drew the attention of all the other customers, who noted the obvious dichotomy between the unbelievable shy young man and the completely uninhibited maiden. I was saying that there are a lot of people here, moron. To stop her idiotic antics, the young man gently bopped the top of the maiden's head with the edge of his hand. And that hurt, Yunshan. You hit me. Watch yourself in public, idiot. In the end, isn't it just because you feel embarrassed? Looks like I guessed right. Whatever. Since now I know just how much Yunshan loves me, I can just count you hitting me as part of the package. The maiden laughed like an idiot, but with her usual sweetness to it. Let's go watch a horror film. The new Japanese movie Fatal Frame came out recently. The heroine is super pretty and the promotional poster looked terrifying. Fatal Frame, I know that. I know there's like game series Fatal Frame where there's like a young high schooler in a horrible creepy mansion defeats ghosts or stuff like that with taking photos of them. Something like that. I think. Young man. Yunshan, your face suddenly turned really pale. No, you're just imagining things. Found his weakness. Oh my, could it be that Yunshan is afraid of watching horror films? Of course not. No matter how realistic it looks, it's still obviously a work of fiction. Oh. Why are you looking at me with so much suspicion? I'm not. I'm just appreciating how much I believe that Yunshan isn't scared of horror films. Okay then. But why did things turn out like this? Hey, this is the first time I could go watch a horror film with someone I love. It would have been such a doubly happy occasion, so why did it turn out like this? Sniffle, sniffle. Okay, fine, I admit I'm afraid of watching horror films. Is everything fine now? Yep, your big sister loves you good, harness children. Even though I'm scared, I'll still go with you. Okay, when the time comes, I can lend a shoulder to you. Are we just going to trade gender roles then? What's wrong with that? Who said that girls have to rely on boys and that boys can't rely on girls? Exactly. Everyone's got their weaknesses and strengths. I guess. Yeah. Afterward, when they went to the theater, the young man was scared out of his wits as expected. However, the maiden didn't fare much better than him. In the end, the two huddled together, shaking out the fear of what was happening on screen. That's adorable. So gratifying. At that time, both the young man and the maiden thought that it would be just like she said, that they could stumble together along side by side with their white hair while thinking back to their many years of precious memories. However, who knows if what happened next was the whim of fate or the work of providence. I mean, it's the work of authors who want some sadness and depression incoming in 3, 2, 1. The young man and maiden's story was cut off short. What's more, it ended in the most tragic, cruel way imaginable. Fuck. Alright, prepare our tear ducts and just emotionally steel ourselves for... Okay, alright. Let's take a sip of water so that we can be ready. Alright. Okay. Sorry about that. Are we ready for depression now? I'm not, but let's go. One day, she told him that she and her family were going traveling, so she wouldn't be seeing him for 2 weeks. She also made the point of adding that she wouldn't be able to use her phone because of the lack of service where she was going. The wording she used, the tone she used, and even the face she made while speaking all seemed off. But the young man, too used to his newfound happiness, didn't question it. So when he received the bad news all of a sudden, it was as if he heard the sound of his entire world crumbling apart. One day, a man and a woman who Yunshan had seen on occasion came to his doorstep. His mother told him that it was the parents of the maiden. When the young man came down from his bedroom, the two somewhat familiar visitors abruptly delivered a single sentence that froze him in place. She died. Died? In her first year of high school, she was diagnosed with brain cancer. Oh, fuck me. Well, oh, fuck me. Well... okay. That's... alright. That's... okay. Brain cancer. It wasn't such a big deal in first year, but in second year her pain became severe. However, her doctor said that the risk of surgery with current medical procedures was too high. So he recommended that we forgo that option. Originally, we didn't intend on letting her get the operation. We were going to let her live on for a while longer with the help of medication and therapy. But during the summer break, she asked to go through with the operation. She said that as things stood, she couldn't marry the person she loved and live out their lives together. That child said that she only wanted you to know when the good news came. So she hid her illness and her upcoming surgery from you. If everything went well, she would explain everything to you. Then, where is she? Yunshan. The operation was a success, right? So where she's hiding? He already said that she died. She's just being a brat like always. Clearly on the verge of a breakdown, the young man forced a smile in a last-ditch effort to fool himself. Uncle, Auntie, where is she? Tell her to stop hiding already, okay? You're so sorry, Yunshan. I didn't ask you to apologize, Uncle Nai. I want to see her. It's already been a week since I last saw her, and her surgery's already done. We'll be happier together than ever before. Before the operation, she told us something. That if the procedure failed, we were to relay these last words to you. Don't. Oh God, no. Why? Yunshan, my son. I know you must be suffering, but because you are the person our daughter loved most, we have a duty to make sure her final message to you. No, I don't want to hear it. The young man stood up as he said this, trying to escape from the two people in front of him. but to his shock, his legs gave out the moment he stood. Sapped of all energy, he crumpled to the floor. Yunshun, our child said, "No. Being able to meet you and fall in love with you was such a blessing." No, stop talking, uncle, I beg you, please stop. That little bastard definitely isn't dead. Please forgive me. I had to leave this world one step before you. No! Sorry for hiding so much from you, Yunshun. Even if I'm not there anymore, you have to live on and move forward. If it's Yunshun, he can do it for sure. The young man's world, coaxed open ever so gradually by the maiden, was sealed shut again after her departure. By the time his world opened up once more, a long time had already passed. By then, he could no longer be called a young man. Yunshun, what are you looking at? Oh, just my graduation photo from high school. Huh? I want to see too. Okay. It's been 2 days since then. I've tried many times to get into situations where I was all alone, but the spirit maiden never showed up. Well, that's because you remembered. And time for closure. Once again, properly this time. In the end, the last time I saw her was that evening in the yard. The spirit maiden said that I was likely the reason why she appeared here in her current form. But by this point, I haven't seen her for 4 or 5 days already. If this story ends as soon as her name is found, it might mean that she already recalled it and disappeared before she could help me remember. I'm not sure, but I really hope that's not what happened. If this is how the story ends, I would regret it for the rest of my life. I still have so much to say to her, so much to remember about her. Yunshun, between high school and now, you basically didn't change at all. How lame. That was completely out of my control. I didn't get cosmetic surgery or change my lifestyle, so why would I look any different? Or are you saying that you want me to be slightly fatter or thinner? Certainly not. Jingshuan quickly imagines how fatter or thinner me would look, then shakes her head to dismiss the mental image. I was gonna say, so you stayed in this room for almost 10 minutes just looking at this graduation photo? Yep. Does this photo help you think back to anything important? I guess it should, but the thing is, I might have forgotten what that important thing was. Eh? Jingshuan, I found out that I lost a portion of my memories. Lost your memories? I tell Jingshuan about the 2 dreams I had. It is basically an admission that she might not have been the first girl to confess to me or to have a relationship with me. I decided to hide everything about my encounters with the spirit maiden deep in my heart. I know that couples are supposed to be open and honest about everything. I should be telling the truth to a girl like Jingshuan. But despite being a past lover, the spirit maiden is only a part of the long-forgotten past. I don't want to mislead Jingshuan on how I feel towards the nameless girl only I can see. The spirit maiden is just a spirit now, after all. So even if I have to resort to lies and deception, I don't want to have to see Jingshuan be hurt by a misunderstanding. So that's how it is. To be honest, Jingshuan, I knew something was off when I asked you about your major the other day. Yeah, I've been unaware of it for so long. It was only after you asked about it that I realized there was a huge gap in my memories. So you're trying to find clues from this graduation photo, right? Yeah. But Yunshun, if it's as you say and for a period of time you couldn't remember anything about this girl, it doesn't sound as simple as just forgetting. Jingshuan's forlorn eyes and the lips show me her concern over the situation. I can more or less guess her unspoken continuation. What's more, it's probably fairly close to the truth. That girl is probably not even here anymore. To escape from reality, I unconsciously forced everything about her out of my memories. The pressure and pace of big city life all helped me down that path. Yunshun, in the past you must have loved this girl, right? That's probably the case. Even just piecing together those few fragmented memories, it's obvious that this girl and I had gotten to the point where we were talking about marriage. I, or rather my past self, must have loved her dearly. I think I just remembered everything. I must remember everything about her, Jingshuan. Yunshun. Because at one point she was the girl I loved most. I have to cleanly resolve those past feelings. Otherwise I can't wholeheartedly deal with these current feelings that Jingshuan and I now share. This is my unshakable responsibility. So you're saying that the person you love most is still me? Did you think that because I remembered all this, I would break up with you? What's wrong? I love you so much, Yunshun. Glomp. I know. So don't squash me. You got heavier, Jingshuan. Probably because I've been eating so much here. Yunshun. I really don't know what to do with you. What I'm about to do is going to be unfair and cruel to the Spirit Maiden, but I'm not going to stop just because of that, because I am carrying a very important burden on my shoulders. In the end, it's all my fault, because I forgot all about her, and because I then accepted someone else. These two girls are both warm, gentle people who each have done nothing wrong. I am the only one who did anything wrong. Did you though? But if she was a really popular girl, even if it's been a long time since you graduated, shouldn't there still be people who remember her? Yeah, maybe if I find some old classmates they can tell me her name. Now understanding my intentions, Xingxuan joins me on my mission to remember everything I can about the Spirit Maiden. How, what's wrong, Yunshan? Pretty much all those people from back then are now working in the big city or in other nearby districts. Ah, now that you mention it. Xingxuan and I think of the same place immediately. If it were anywhere else, finding clues through old classmates would be the easiest and most efficient course of action. But in a small town like Tangyin, all the local graduates went to work in the city. The good thing is, there should still be a few people who stayed here to help with the farmlands. Or, just teachers. Even if we count all the people who went to the city, there should still be a handful of people from your school still around here, right? Yeah, I guess we'll just have to go ask them one by one. All I have to do is put away my pride and go door to door to ask around. It's so simple, and yet a sense of unease creeps into my heart. Maybe it's not just me and Yunshan, but rather to everyone that this applies. The maiden said that everyone might have forgotten about her. If I forgot about the Spirit Maiden just because she'd passed away, then why did she also forget about herself? When I think about the Spirit Maiden, I feel dulled, trepidation amidst the confusion. If you can't find an answer from asking around, how about we also contact the school principal from back then and request to check the files for your graduating class? Okay. It seems that Xingxuan is even more focused than I on the road ahead. Even though this is no less impossible than fishing a needle out of the sea, Xingxuan's eyes still flare with determination. What excuse do I have for hesitation? You know what? Yunshan is a lot different than before. Where is this all of a sudden? In university and at work, you always hated this kind of inefficient method, right? Even if it was the only solution to the situation. I don't think I enjoy it any more now than I did back then. I force a smile. As long as I can help the departed rest in peace and continue clinging on to the person at my side, I will gladly fish for that needle. Which means Yunshan really did change, right? He's no longer the clueless Yunshan who sees nothing ahead except unearned achievements. Did you just take a jab at me, Xingxuan? Why would I do that to my boyfriend? No, the man I want to spend the rest of my life with. Xingxuan smiles as she rises to the balls of her feet and claps her hands to my shoulders. It might be that this way of living suits me a lot better. Since all I am is an average, unremarkable, forgettable face in the crowd. Just a normal, insignificant human being. Normal isn't so bad, right? Xingxuan says this as she puts her head against me. I guess. Aww. After that, let's get married. Sure, let's make a promise then. Pinky swear. If at that time we never made that naive promise, would that maiden be a spirit now? Who knows? At least, I don't. If that was indeed the truth, isn't it too late if I only realized it now? The train has reached the station. We ask that all travelers wait behind the yellow line to keep a safe distance from the track. In the end, we found absolutely nothing. Do you think that maybe that girl's family was super rich and managed to cover up all traces of her? I don't think so, no. But that doesn't make any sense. Our last few days at the town of Tangyin were spent asking around for information about the maiden. Contrary to my expectations, no one shut us out of their home just because of how arrogant I once was. Here we were a kid. Of course, they wouldn't. I guess only someone as childish as I was back then would do something as narrow-minded as that. But also contrary to my expectations was that not one person remembered the Spirit Maiden, the girl who definitely existed and then passed away. Such a charming and passionate soul, once the crush of every boy in our class, seemed to have been wiped from everyone's collective memories. Their manner of speech and facial expressions were too convincing to have been an act. My guess is that the Spirit Maiden was forcibly removed from existence by some higher power. If this is a world where ghosts exist, what's to say that there isn't a god? Yunshan. Yeah. Xingxuan turns to me, but holds her tongue. I'm about to say next, promise you won't be mad. Just say it. I feel like even if we asked around your old classmates in the city, we'll just get the same answer we already got. Jingchuan motions for me to see the list of graduates that the school principal gave us while helplessly shaking her head. I was feeling it the same way. All of this was just too abnormal. When we got the list of names from the principal, we asked if there was any student who supposedly passed away in my year. No, the 60-year-old man gave us his definite answer. For a fleeting moment, his certitude, devoid of even a semblance of doubt, almost had me thinking that this was all just in my head. But my gut solidly rejected this notion. The Spirit Maiden was not just an illusion. The question of why I chose finance as my major can only be answered by something lost among the many forgotten memories I shared with that girl. I won't give up. Since she once existed, I must bear the responsibility of finding the answer. Yes, we have all the time in the world anyway. If we can't find her in a month, we'll search for 2. If not in 2 months, half a year. If not half a year, an entire year. Right until we find out who she is. You really didn't get jealous at all, Jingchuan. Yunshan already said that he loves me the most, so why do I gotta be jealous? 6:03 p.m. After coming back to my hometown for a few days to clear our minds, Jingchuan and I are now only one train ride again from returning to our fast-paced life in the city. There were a few surprises over the course of our trip, but in the end I don't consider there to be a single bad thing. As long as I wish one day I will recall all of that Spirit Maiden. Yunshan, Jingchuan, Auntie, Mom, how come you came? You already took everything you told us to bring back. She wants to see you off, come on now. Are you sure? You forgot these 2 watermelons. Mother, who had come through the technically closed exit and onto the platform, gasped for air as she put 2 large watermelons at our feet. Didn't I say there was no need for us to take this back? We'll be back soon to visit anyway. Exactly, Auntie. Now look here, you 2. These 2 melons are for you to take with you to eat back over in the city. I guess we'll have to accept your token of consideration. Jingxun and I took a look at each other and ended up accepting Mother's gift. A gust of unnatural, almost supernatural wind blows through the platform. When the final screeching sound, our train pulls into the station. Jingxun and I each hold on to a watermelon and prepare to board the train. But just as we're about to leave, Mother calls out to us. Oh, yeah, Yunshan, hold on a moment. Yeah, Mom? When I got to the station, a girl helped me carry these 2 melons to the exit back there. She told me to give you this blank sheet of paper. Do you know her by chance? A girl? Yunshan, could be. Hey, you 2 over there, hurry up and board, we're ready to go. Oh, our apologies. Mom, we're heading out. Auntie, we'll be back to visit. Be careful on your way back, you 2. Be sure to take care of yourselves. We shared a few brief parting words after the staff member's warning and make our way to our carriage. As I had my hands full, Mother had slipped the blank sheet of paper from the girl she mentioned into one of my pockets. I pulled the sheet of paper out of my pocket as soon as I sat in my seat. Just a blank sheet. Blank sheet? Jingxuan is evidently confused by the blank sheet of paper in my hands. She diverts her attention to the window and waves her hand at Mother, who is standing right outside the window. Just like I did, Jingxuan probably expected the sheet of paper to contain a message from the Spirit Maiden. Yet, one glance at the supposed blank sheet was enough to disappoint her. But the words we uttered had vastly different meanings. Because in my eyes, the sheet of paper in my hands is not blank, as Jingxuan implied, but rather completely covered on both sides with writing. The maiden's first and last letter to me. To the formerly arrogant watermelon lover. Nice to meet you, and long time no see. If you understand the meaning of that sentence, please read on. It's just as you guessed, only you can see these words, just like how only you could see my face and hear my voice. The reason is simple. Because I no longer exist in this world. Although I may have existed at some point, every trace of my having been here has been almost wiped clean. I say almost for a reason you might have already figured out. After everyone else had forgotten about me, you still kept, in the depths of your heart, lingering memories of my existence. However, this almost may well soon become completely. From the moment you came back to Tangyin, the curtains on our brief story were raised. But I knew that you learned my name. Learning my name would mark the final chapter. The story might end as soon as you finish reading this letter, or maybe right after today. And upon reaching the finale, you will become like everyone else. Please don't be mad. This wasn't the work of anyone else, it was all my own decision. I didn't want to make anyone suffer after I departed this world. So, before you 2 completely forget, I'll take everything you wanted to know and write it all down for you. Her writing stops abruptly. At some point, my hands started shaking from the pounding of my heart, or of my racing heart. As if fearing the words on the other side would disappear, I put all my willpower into flipping over that sheet of paper. After meeting you in the yard that day, I remembered my own name. I recalled everything about myself. I realized why I had become a spirit. At that time, the story should have already ended. But I am also selfish sometimes. I wanted to see you for a bit longer. From then on, I avoided you whenever you tried to be alone. I was scared that if we talked, you would remember who I am. We dated in high school. We promised to get married in the future. But I couldn't stay in this world long enough to fulfill that promise. It turned out that the medical science couldn't solve everything. After that promise, I no longer had anything else to worry about. Birth, old age, sickness, and death are all things that each person must face. I happened to face my end a bit earlier than most. But for the people around me, this wasn't something that they could readily accept. Especially you, the self-centered prick who finally learned to open up to others. It's probably because I was so worried for you that I reappeared as a spirit when you came back. After I left, you might have closed your heart off from the rest of the world again. Being as stubborn as you are, you would certainly have tried to keep your promise to me, even if it eventually led to your demise. Maybe there was some higher being who understood how I felt and allowed me to be here to comfort you. However, it seems that there is no need for me to do that anymore. You once said that I was a nutjob for liking you. So, when I saw this girl named Jingxuan at your side, I couldn't help but peg her as a nutjob. To the no longer so self-centered arrogant bastard, this should have been answered everything you wanted to know and needed to know. From now on, please take good care of your mother and that girl. You can definitely live a happy life. This is my guarantee. As your ex-girlfriend, I'm a ghost now after all, so you better believe that what I say. Finally, I appreciate you and that girl searching for clues about these past few days. For proof that I once was born, laughed, cried, fell in love, and existed in the same world as you. And now, my finally. Please make sure that you live a happy life, Yunshan. Lianhua.
你怎么了？
What's wrong, Yunshan?
为什么看一张
Why are you
白纸
crying
的不
from looking at a blank sheet of paper? Oh, I'm crying? When I tried to speak, I realized my nose is thoroughly congested, preventing me from speaking clearly.
对啊，你没发现吗？
Yeah, do you not notice? You're weeping buckets right now. For real, huh? It's probably just the smell of the train getting to me. I covered my face with my hand and realized that, true to Jingxuan's word, it is covered in tears. Of course, I know exactly why I was crying. Because I finally found out all of my past memories with her. Because I can recall every little thing about her appearance. Because I finally know her name. Also because I know that I will soon forget everything about her again. Because I now know her name, this story is already at its conclusion.
啊，等等，我给你。
Oh wait, I'll give you some tissues. To all passengers, the train will be moving shortly. Please return to your seats and refrain from leaving against the main doors. Jingxuan rummages around for tissues beside me as the train begins to move. I look out the window to the platform. Where there stood only mother before now, also stands a second figure right beside her. It's Lianhua. Just like before, only I can see the tight-lipped Lianhua who appears to be saying something. Realizing that the sound was blocked by the glass panes between us, Lianhua mouths her words again slowly to make sure I understand. Suddenly, her previously distant and inaudible voice speaks right in my ear. The sound resonates through my entire being. When I react to her message, the maiden outside the window who stands on that platform in that eternal dusk finally gives me the first of her last smiles. In the very next moment, the train starts to advance. The shadows of looming buildings are replaced by flowing, pastoral landscapes.
我找到了。
Ah, I found some.
云
Huh?
山，你怎么
Yunshan, why are you laughing with tears streaming from your eyes? I'm starting to miss my mom, I guess. It's not like we're not coming back. What's a grown man doing getting so torn up? That's right, we'll be back. However, when we return next time, I might not be able to see Lianhua again. Or maybe, in the very next passing moment, I will forget everything about her. But even then, even after forgetting her name, her face, and her laughter, I will definitely never forget those parting words. After all, they were her last gift to me. A teary farewell from that spirit on the platform.
你周围的世界
The world around you is so much more tender than you imagined.
温柔一点。
Your smile beyond Twilight. The end. Credits roll. Producers. Nerve 110. Small team. Story by... If you can read Chinese, then great. Jingxuan's CV. Character design. That character. Backgrounds by this person. Good job. They were nice backgrounds. Programming. Someone and Yashinking, I guess. Music by them. It was lovely music. It was nice background music, yes. UI artist Float Soul. Translation by Minzart. Sure. Testers Chudyu, Yashinking, and Remco Hiddink, plus 2 others who I can't read. Thanks. I love Eve, DoBGM, something, Yetu Game, Sodotome, and something else. And Linkton Studio, the makers of this game. Well, yes, indeed. Thank you, Linkton, for this lovely, but at the end also kind of depressing one. At the end here, thanks. But it was lovely, I must say. I must say that it was indeed lovely. Overall, it was a sweet, somewhat heart-wrenching little story. I enjoyed this one. It was nice. It tugged at my heartstrings a bit. Well done. Good job. Made me a little sad. But in a good way, it's the good kind of sad. Well, guess there's not much else to say with that then. Yeah, there really isn't. I don't know how to end this, because this was, it ended on a very, very sad note overall. But like, they're looking forward to a happy future there, at least. Yeah. Shit happens. Life happens like that sometimes. There's really not much else to say there. So, I guess that's that. Yeah. We're done. We're done with that. For now. Forever. And we are done with this week as well. And I guess that's all that's left to do now. As always, at the end of the week, we bid our farewells. Everything goes away now. Everything disappears into the void with you, into the void with me, and everything else. Because we don't need anything else here. We don't need anything else now that we are ready. To say the final goodbye now. But we'll be back eventually, over time. However, for now, this time that we go and visit the Reign of Dio, Act 1, A Rainbow. Volume 3, Long Live Rock and Roll. Chapter 20, Kill the King. Kill the king, joked the jester, but none were amused. Off with his head, declared the king, and swiftly it fell. Kill the king, shouted the prisoner, but he was ignored. Off with his head, declared the king, and executed he was. Kill the king, demanded the noble, but others were afraid. Off with his head, declared the king, and hesitantly they obeyed. Kill the king, declared the prince. Countless questions arose. Off with his head, declared the king, but to exile he fled. Kill the king, stormed the peasants, but no declaration was needed. Kill the king, bellowed the king. Silence at this madness. Off with his head, declared the king. Confused, they obeyed. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.